What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast. I'm Andrea Renee, joined, as always, by Miss Brittany Brombacher.
I'm hot and sweaty, yeah.
And Miss Christine Steimer.
I'm not as hot and sweaty as I normally am, because today is a more overcast day, thank God.
Blessed be for clouds. Welcome to What's Good Games, your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and funny stuff. Welcome. If this is your first time listening to the What's Good Games podcast, thank you so much for stopping by and joining us. If you're listening on podcast services, we would appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button, maybe leave us a review. Maybe you're watching at youtube.com/whatsgoodgames. If you are, you may have noticed that lovely carousel of merchandise right below the video, because that's right, ladies and gentlemen, this week's episode is brought to you once again by the What's Good Games merch store. Because we're talking about merch, I've decided to wear one of our lovely pieces of merchandise. This is our Salty Emojis shirt. You can get it in tank top form, you can get it in sweatshirt form, or you can do like I did and get it in purple t-shirt form, which I then showed people how to cut up in our What's Good Games pre-show, which is one of our fantastic Patreon tiers over at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. Yes, that's right. It's Turbo Patron month. As always, I think I meant to say Turbo Patron week.
You did, but that's fine.
We're going to read those names in the third segment. But Brittany, do you have a favorite piece of merchandise from the What's Good Games store, which can be found at teespring.com/stores/whatsgoodgames?
Yeah, it's called the Baby Ass Baby Mode tee, and it's amazing and awesome, and it's like, select your difficulty, and it has Baby Ass Baby Mode selected. It's wonderful. It's my favorite.
Steimer, what's your fave?
That's a good question. I also am very fond of.
You're particularly
You're partial to.
I'm particularly fond of Baby Ass Baby Mode. I'm also, of course, very fond of the That's What She Said pillow.
Yes, so this is our brand new
addition to the
store. As she mentioned, a new addition to the merch store. It comes in a variety of sizes. It is a square pillow that you can choose a selection of colors, and it says, "That's what she said," just like our pillow on set does. But unlike the pillow here, our pillow in our merch store features our controller icon logo inside the D of she said.
Yeah, it does.
We thought it seemed appropriate. So again, if you guys want to help support the show, What's Good Games, you can go to Teespring, teespring.com/stores with an S, STORES/What's Good Games. Again, one more time, teespring.com/stores/What's Good Games. We've got men's, we've got ladies, we've got cotton, we've got tri-blend, and we've got pillows. That's really all you need to know.
We've got kid stuff, I think.
We do. We have toddler shirts as well.
And mugs. Don't put them in the dishwasher. You'll have a bad time.
Yeah, hand wash only.
Yeah.
Hand wash only. Thank you so much for coming by the show this week. We are, of course, shooting this show early again this week, and that's my fault because I am heading off to San Diego Comic-Con. By the time you are listening or watching this show, I will already be there. We'll be 2 days in to San Diego Comic-Con. Once again, if you guys are going, please stop by one of the 3 panels that I'm going to be hosting or come by the meet and greet. Again, Thursday was the Division panel at this point. Friday, if you catch this right away in the morning and you're in San Diego, at 2:15 is the Lego DC Supervillains panel, Meet the Talent Behind the Video Games. That's going to be awesome. And then, of course, we have on Saturday the Defining Lara Croft Shadow of the Tomb Raider panel at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, and then I will be joining Mr. Greg Miller from Kinda Funny for the Kinda Funny meet and greet at Skybound's activation at San Diego Comic-Con. You can find the details for that, which I believe is a ticketed event, at kindafunny.com/SDCC, and if you follow me on Twitter at Andrea Renee or follow us at whatsgood_games, you can find out where all of my panels are going to be. Thank you so much to everybody who is coming out to San Diego. And then we are going to be at RTX Austin in just a couple of weeks. That's right, August 3rd through the 5th. RTXAustin.com if you guys want to look up tickets. We have a panel on Saturday. We have got an autograph signing on Sunday. Britt, you tweeted about this, didn't you?
I did. It's going to be fantastic. So I almost said our podcast, but it's actually going to be our panel. Our panel is going to be about podcasting and how to podcast, how to make a good, solid thing with your friends. That's what she said. I don't know.
Nah.
How to make a good solid
That's a bit of a
friend?
stretch.
Okay, no, you got to call me out because I throw the "that's what she said" out there far too often. You got to let me know when I fucked up.
It's true.
Anyway, yeah, we're gonna be talking about podcasting, things we've learned from our first year of podcasting. We'll have a Q&A. It'll be awesome. And then we have a very, very early signing, as Andrea mentioned, on Sunday. It's not very early. It's
We
like
may or may
9:30.
not be hungover at that signing on Sunday. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
Maybe we'll
Probably.
be having
It'll be great.
All
mimosas
signs
full
point
of.
to yes.
Wait, what? Thermoses
Is it
full
all
of mimosas?
signs point to yes.
The
Like the
Magic
magic
8
8 ball.
It was a throwback. Just smile and nod. See, that's exactly the stuff we're going to talk about in our panel. When you podcast over long distances, sometimes awkward things happen where someone talks and you cut each other off and you just smile and nod and hope for the best.
It's true. I was listening back to the show from last week, and there were several times when you in particular, Britt, would say things and I would just like completely miss them. And then I was listening and I was like, why do I ignore Britt so much? And I'm like, oh, it's not intentional. I swear.
I feel like you've said that about me too before at other points where you're like, oh, I was listening to the show and I didn't hear most of what you said. And I was like, all right.
Man, the
Happens.
delay. Sometimes it works not in your favor when you podcast long distance. But these are some of the stories we're going to talk about. So if you are going to be at RTX Austin, please come by our panel on Saturday, August 4th at 1:30.
Sounds about right. Twitter.com/what'sgood_games. It's our pin tweet.
I should know. There's too much happening.
should
I
know,
still
too.
have Comic-Con in my brain right now. That's all I can focus on. But speaking of this week, we actually have a decent amount of news, even though it's pretty early on in the week. Please forgive us if there's some amazing breaking news that happens. But there's quite a bit of stuff to dig in here. So shall we get right to it, ladies?
Yes, but our panel's at 12:30
Oh,
to
thanks, Steimer.
1:30.
Yeah.
12:30
you,
p.m. Central Time.
Yes.
All right. Moving on. That was
Moving
our
on.
transition.
Wait, what was that?
beautiful.
Go ahead. Just go, Britt. Go for it.
Moving on.
Perfect.
That was the transition. That's all it was. Nothing more, nothing less.
I think I need to put that on a soundboard somewhere. I'm going to work on
Oh
that.
God.
Gonna really
Let's
up
do
this
it.
podcast game. Add a soundboard. All right, the first story. It's not really a story as it is kind of an update, but I thought it was interesting nonetheless to bring up. No Man's Sky has getting a big update, and it was detailed this week over at GameSpot. They write, titled Next. The update will be available for free for PS4, Xbox One, and PC players of No Man's Sky starting July 24th. Perhaps the biggest new addition is multiplayer, the long-awaited feature that everyone has been asking for. Finally allows players to team up with a small team of friends and explore the universe together, or be joined by random members of the community. Quote, you can help friends to stay alive or prey on others to survive. You can build tiny shelters or complex colonies that are shared for all players, fight as a pirate or a wingman in epic space battles with friends and enemies, race exocraft across weird alien terrain, create racetracks and trails to share online. The character customization allows you to personalize your appearance. The game will also receive a visual makeover that, according to Hello Games, has, quote, dramatically improved planetary terrain generation, ground textures, water, and clouds. Additionally, there's also significantly more detail added to ships, NPCs, and buildings. New planetary rings and improved space visuals have also been introduced, and on top of that, the game is now playable in the third-person perspective.
Wow.
This is a lot. But wait, there's more. Hello Games said, nearly 2 years ago, our small team of friends with a shared love of sci-fi opened up the universe of No Man's Sky for the first time. It was an innovative, weird, and at times lonely game. I loved that. It reminded me of the science fiction books I grew up with. It was broad in a way that almost no other game is, but with 4 updates, it has become broader and so much deeper too. That will be even more true with the launch of Next, bringing a full multiplayer experience. We can't wait for people to play, and hopefully you can see from the trailer, this is a very new experience.
Yeah.
So Britt, you were on the social medias about this.
I was. So No Man's Sky
Bless you.
in itself, when it was being, well, we can get into the promotion or lack thereof in a little bit. It just did not look like a game that would interest me, not a game that I would want to play alone. I should clarify. It's the kind of game that if I'm going to play, I want to play with people. And obviously one of the main things Sean Murray was tweeting about and talking about was this isn't the multiplayer game you expect it to be. There's not a lot of multiplayer. We don't even expect players to find each other in this game. And so I was like, oh, okay, I mean, whatever. I'll just watch this from a distance. Didn't really keep up with it. Obviously, there's been like 3 expansions since it released a couple years ago, and then there was some controversy. This game, I think, was they over-promised, under-delivered. There was really no PR campaign to speak of. A lot of people. Did I say that right? Over-promised, under-delivered. Yeah, really no. Yeah, I was like, did I get that backwards? Thank you. No real PR to speak of. I think if a lot of fans hyped this game up in their heads so much that there's no way this game was going to fit the expectations that people had for it. And so unfortunately, the only thing I ever really saw was like the negativity surrounding it. So, which sucks. But now, it sounds like they've made a lot of improvements to the game with all these expansions, and I'm excited to hop into multiplayer. They've added story missions. Apparently, there's a 30-hour story mission that I didn't even know about because I haven't been following it. I'm like, I think I would like this game.
It
looks like something I would really enjoy. Yeah, and they've added base building and vehicles that can go around on the planets and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I could see this being a fun time sink with some friends. I'm excited to hop in.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the brief amount of time that I spent with No Man's Sky. I just got to a point where I just felt like I was not making any progress. Like I felt like I was just collecting and collecting and collecting, and I wasn't being able to upgrade the things that I wanted to, and it felt like the grind was just a little too lonely. I'm glad that they called that out in their press release. It's funny because some of the verbatim that's in this press release reminds me so much of some of the copy I used to have to write for GameStop TV. So for people who don't know, I used to write almost all of the scripts that I would read on GameStop TV. And when I first started doing it, I had to stick to a very formulaic script template. Like they were like, this is the way that we do them. This is how we want you to write them. But over time, I managed to convince them to let me kind of write it in my own style. But every once in a while, we would get directives from studios who are like, hey, we're paying for this ad. We want this copy to be included. And for No Man's Sky with PlayStation's marketing team, there was like specific bullet points they wanted me to include. And it's crazy listening to something like fight as a pirate or wingman in an epic space battles with friends and enemies. Like that's like pulled directly from a GameStop TV script, which is crazy to think about. I bet you I could even pull up my script and like find the exact one that I wrote that it had that line. But it's the reason I bring that up is because it's wild to think about how long ago it was that this game was being promoted for pre-orders, and just how robust they were making the game sound, and just how spectacularly they kind of fell on their face at launch. And it's really sad because I think this game is really a gem of a game that has really come into its own. They clearly just needed way more time than they were given. And I think what it comes down to, and we are seeing that PlayStation has really learned their lesson in this, is that they're not promoting these tentpole games so far out in advance anymore, unless they know that they have specific target dates or they know exactly the product they're getting, right? Like I feel like Sony can clearly start marketing The Last of Us Part 2 as early as they want, because we all have great faith that we know what Naughty Dog is going to deliver, right? Like if Naughty Dog says, this is what you're getting, we know that's what we're getting. And that was clearly not the case with Hello Games and No Man's Sky, a very different type of studio, much smaller, didn't have nearly the experience or the resources that Naughty Dog had. Not to compare them, right? This is clearly like apples and oranges. But I think it's like an interesting case study in how you market and promote a game that you're kind of propping up to be a tentpole or a AAA style title, so far out in advance.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are also I'm seeing on Twitter and social media, oh, this is too little, too late. But I mean, sure, for some people, but I think this is finally the game that a lot of people were looking for many years ago. And, it's a game that's always been intriguing to me. And like I said, it was blown way out of, there's no way that this game was going to live up to the expectations that were set for it. But now that it has multiplayer, and now, like I said, it has all these cool things. You can now do multiplayer missions from your new ship thing that I don't know. I'm a dumbass. I'm sorry. I don't know like all the terminology for this game, but the things I've been reading about
it doesn't make you a dumbass, Britt.
Okay, what's the word? Not a dumbass. I am
uneducated.
Sure, that's even better. Uneducated.
It's better than a dumbass. Dumbass assumes that you're like willfully ignorant.
Okay. No, I am not willfully ignorant.
Uninformed, maybe.
I'm uninformed about all the correct terminology, but this finally seems like the game that I was excited about. And I remember the day before the game released, Sean was like, I'm worried essentially that this is not going to be the game that everyone's expecting it to be. And it turned out that it wasn't. But I feel like it's finally at that point. I don't think Hello Games would consider No Man's Sky to be finished at this point. I think there was even a quote out there about that. But I think it's made a lot of great strides. And I'm definitely going to jump in and try it. So we'll see. I'm very curious to see how this game does now that all these fixes have been implemented.
Steimer, do you have any desire to go back to No Man's Sky?
In order to go back to it, I would have had to be there at some point. And I was never. I don't know. No Man's Sky was definitely one of those games, whenever it came up on like the PlayStation stage or wherever, I would just look at it and think, I don't know why everyone's so excited about this. It just seems empty to me. Like, there was just something missing. So then when it came out and it was kind of empty, I was like, okay, cool. Glad I didn't spend time going over there. This update is interesting to me. However, I think I don't know. It's a hard hurdle for me to get over. I'm like, you already launched your game, and now this is like a 2.0 launch kind of a thing, and it's hard for even me, who never even played the first one, to be like, oh yes, now I'm going to play this. So I can't imagine. I think anybody who's already played this game is probably out already. Like, I can imagine that soured them spectacularly to think you're getting one thing and then not get it. Like, would you automatically forgive?
No, I think that applies to definitely. I mean, No Man's Sky has like a cult following, obviously, and there are people who hopped in it and were severely disappointed, especially when Hello Games did that weird thing where they were like super quiet for a few months, didn't talk to anyone. I think they lost a lot of loyalty there. But for me, as an example, I'm looking at this as like a relaunch. Like, in my little world and bubble, No Man's Sky, it almost like didn't even release because it wasn't something that ever got my time or my attention. But now seeing the things that they've added since launch, like I'm just looking at a list here. So portals, so fast traveling, they've made the planets supposedly more interesting, vehicles, there's different game modes, base building, base sharing,
totally.
missions.
Like, no,
what
they did sounds way fucking better. I'm not gonna
No, so what I'm saying though is I'm looking at this game as like a whole new release, like something like No Man's Sky 1.0 didn't even really exist in my mind. So to me, it's exciting. I don't think your game already launched, so therefore I'm not interested in it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's what I can appreciate your perspective, but I'm saying as like average person, to them this game already came out, and I think it's hard to change people's perspectives once you already launch.
Yes.
Like, once you have that out there, it's very difficult to change perception of your property. So that's more of what I was saying. Like, even this thing could print money, and like I still think there would be people who would be like, fuck you, because you screwed me over 2 years ago. Like, I think that was more my point. Is like,
totally.
Some people are so soured on this. Like, there's literally nothing you're gonna be
Especially
going to be able to do.
That $60 price tag.
Yeah.
That's like what now, $20?
Totally. And I think it's an interesting point that you both are bringing up, because what I was thinking was, how many games have we seen that have released on PC and then 2, 3, 4 years later or whatever, they come out on different console platforms, right? Like, we're particularly seeing this with the Switch right now, with games that have released on other platforms that are now finding a new home on the Switch. And I think that there's definitely a space in the market for people who maybe completely missed No Man's Sky when it first came out, because they either heard the kerfluffle and then were like, I'm just going to stay away, or maybe they just missed it altogether because their head was under a rock and they weren't paying attention. I think that there's an opportunity for Hello Games to have a second wind, to get a do-over right now, because I think that they demonstrated that they put the work in, that they took the community feedback to heart, that they didn't just say, hey, well, we did our best, like, take it or leave it. They said, we want to do better. And, Sean Murray's even said, we're not done. Like, we have done a ton of work over the last couple of years making this the game that we promised you that it would be, but we're not done yet. We're still doing more. We're still making more improvements. We're still adding more features. And I think that shows a commitment to the community who did stick around to say, hey, like, we want to make good on what the expectation was. Sure, it took us a little bit longer than we anticipated, but we're doing our best to get there, because I'm sure, after the initial run, they didn't get additional support from Sony, but they're going to take the money that they did make and put it back into the game. And I have a lot of respect for that. Because of that, I am compelled to try the game out again and see how it goes. And I hope that when I jump back in, it'll be fun. So, Britt, if you want to be space pirates together, let me know.
Girl. Look for that booty, that space booty.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, I had to get weird. I had to make it weird. That's what I do.
This is why we love you, though. Okay, next story. This is an interesting one. Another game who is trying to take a stab at a make-good. Middle-earth: Shadow of War removes final microtransactions as promised. So this write-up comes from IGN. I also received a press release about this directly from Warner Brothers 3 months after Warner Brothers announced that it would remove all microtransactions from Middle-earth: Shadow of War. It seems to have done just that. New patch notes released on Steam say that the market is removed from the game, replaced with an updated garrison menu that allows access to your garrison orcs, chests, trading orders, and boosts. While the ability to purchase in-game gold was removed back in May, players could still use existing gold in the market until now. The feature's removal marks the last vestige of microtransactions in the game. When Middle-earth: Shadow of War was first released, publisher Warner Brothers and developer Monolith caught flack for how the game allowed players to almost needlessly spend real-world money. In a subsequent announcement, the game's developer admitted that microtransactions undermine the heart of the game. Quote, "Simply being aware that they are available for purchase reduces the immersion in the world and takes away from the challenge of building your personal army in your fortresses," said a spokesman back in May. So they also added quite a few other things, which if you guys want to see all of the new content updates, you can check the full patch notes over at the Monolith website. But this is another game that kind of feels like a little too late in more of a big sense than for No Man's Sky, because this was a game that was one of my most anticipated games for last year. And it came out and just underwhelmed me in the saddest of sad ways, because I love the Lord of the Rings. I have a map of Middle-earth on the wall inside the studio. I have read these books so many times and seen the movies, and Alexa Ray and I used to geek out over Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and just the world of Tolkien so many times. And like, it was such a bummer that I couldn't force myself to get back into this game. Now, the removal of the microtransactions is an amazing step in the right direction, and I'm glad that they did it. But I'm kind of like, but it's kind of like, why? At this point, like, I understand, like, it's good overall for the community and for the game, for people who maybe want to jump back in and try it. But, like, why didn't you do this sooner? Like, why couldn't you, like, pivot faster? If nothing else, just refund everybody and then just wipe the microtransactions out and just give people their money back. That's the quickest way to get it done. But I guess Warner Brothers was maybe like, that's too difficult. We don't want to do that. I don't know. This is kind of a bummer of a story when it should be like a cool, you did it. But at the same time, I'm like,
Yeah, it's sort of weird too, because it is a single player game. So I don't know, the whole thing, and I agree with you, Andrea. I'm not a huge like Lord of the Rings nerd, but I 100%ed the first game. So this game was also one of my most anticipated, and I had a great time playing it at preview events where you're already kind of like leveled up and like just basically running around killing things. I was like, awesome. But actually going through the regular user funnel of the game, I just couldn't do it. Which is like, it was the most disappointing thing because I loved the first game so much. And then, yeah, I don't know, I guess maybe that's why I'm like, you removed microtransactions, good for you. Like, because I just...
That's not enough to make you want to hop back in and experience.
They shouldn't have been there in the first place, but, you know, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, this definitely feels like too little too late, as opposed to, like personally, like No Man's Sky. Because me, I like to have a single player game I'm working through, and then I like to have something that I can just play, like a multiplayer game on the side. But with all these other single player experiences coming down the pike, it's like I don't really have any urge to play this game anymore. I feel like it's come and gone. It's had its moment. I think this is awesome that they learned a little too late probably, but they did implement these changes. But at this point, it's like I just no one's talking about this anymore, really. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not into it.
I'm wondering if they only did this because they were like, well, people dropped off the game a lot faster than they were anticipating. And they're trying to like use these PR beats to drum up a little bit of reminding people that this game exists in the first place. And then also being like, by the way, there's nothing shady here, finger guns, and please come back.
Please. Yeah. Is there any reason to come back and play this game?
I mean, I think only if you were turned off so much by the microtransactions that you noped out, but you're still interested in the story. Like, sure.
That might be where I'm at, because for me, and I'm glad that Michael DePlater, who is over at Monolith, addressed the idea of immersion and just how immersion breaking the microtransactions were. Because you would get to certain points where you would like you would get these notifications to like go to the store, and going to the store and having to like go through this like retail process of buying orcs to like add to your army just felt so kind of gross in a way. And I was just like, why? I don't like need these things. And clearly that game had more problems than just the microtransactions. But I don't know. It did feel like very immersion breaking in a variety of ways, and I want to really go back and check out the DLC that came out, the Blade of Galadriel, where you, get to play as oh my gosh, I'm forgetting her name.
This is when we
Is that
sing
Laura Bailey's
songs.
character?
Yes, it is.
I don't remember her game name.
This is transition music.
Yeah, no, what is her character name? Oh, Atariel. That's what it is. So she's introduced in this game, and that was the DLC that I really wanted to play. So I'm still planning to go back and check that out, and maybe now is a good time for me to check out both No Man's Sky and Shadow of War again. Just revisit them both. Get those updates going.
Old friends.
It's not like there are any other big games coming up anytime soon, so it's fine.
Are
All the
you
time in the world.
being facetious?
Yes. Like, and that's what I'm getting at. Is like
What is coming out soon?
games in general. I have a huge backlog, so I think that's taken up a lot of my life right now. I'm
like, what year is it? Where am I?
Where are we? We're in 2018 right now. But that's what I'm saying, I'm really excited about Octopath Traveler, and that's what I'm playing. And then I want to do more Destiny 2 stuff. It just like No Man's Sky. Like, other games right now seem more relevant and more interesting to play than something that came out a while ago. And I hate saying that, but then again, I've never been a huge fan of these games.
What?
Not that I didn't like them, but
Girl who plays super old shit is saying that there's.
No.
I think what it is
I was
for you
gonna
is,
say
like,
it. Steimer took the words right out of my
say it.
mouth.
No, okay, let's just keep it real. Keep it real. So, obviously, when we're in the business of doing what we do, there's always that sort of pressure of playing something that's relevant, that you can talk about. And obviously, like me, I like to have my multiplayer game. I like to have my relevant current game. And sometimes I like to have a retro game on the side. And so I always have like a game in those sections. But right now, like going back to Shadow of War, it just doesn't seem like the smart thing to do.
It doesn't fit these categories. It's not old enough to be retro.
See? Yeah, give me like 20 years.
10 years. Yeah, 10, 20 years, and then you'll play it.
I'll come back to it.
True. All right. Well, let's not beat this horse to death. Let's move on. If you guys are interested, they have now removed the microtransactions for Middle-earth Shadow of War. Moving on to a game that Brittany so thankfully brought up, Destiny 2. So I got a couple of stories here about Destiny 2. Bungie has revealed the Solstice of Heroes Destiny 2 Summer Holiday event. So this write-up comes from Polygon. Solstice of Heroes will start on July 31st in its Destiny 2's new summer holiday event. It's also the only way to get 400 power armor before the Forsaken expansion releases on September 4th. The Solstice of Heroes represents a memorial and a celebration of the past year. The event centers around the destruction of the previous tower and the rebirth of the Golden Age. Essentially, it asks players to remember the event of Destiny 2's base campaign. This is done in a few ways, namely the replaying of old story missions. Solstice of Heroes will offer limited time redux missions, important story missions altered in one way or another. The 5 missions offered this year will be Homecoming, Spark, Payback, 1AU, and Chosen. Completing these missions will be one way to upgrade your Solstice of Heroes armor, the same pieces players were wearing when the tower fell last year when Destiny 2 launched. It starts with the Shattered set, which drops at 240 and can be upgraded to the Rekindled set at 340. And finally, players can upgrade their gear all the way to Resplendent, which is set exclusively at 400 light level. So this is great. There's a lot more details to be learned about the Solstice of Heroes for those of you out there who are inquiring minds and would like to know. Of course, we just had Guardian Con, and I want to give a big shout out to all of the Guardians who raised $2.7 million for St. Jude's at Guardian Con.
Oh.
So definite round of applause for that. That's awesome. What an amazing charity stream that everybody did down there in Florida. The other Destiny story that I want to tag onto this before we talk about this is that Nolan North will voice Cade 6 in Destiny 2's Forsaken. So this is a headline that I had to read twice to be like, wait, what? What is this? So this write-up is from Game Informer. In a strange turn of events, Nolan North will be taking over the voice work for Cade 6 in Destiny 2 Forsaken. Nathan Fillion was, quote, unavailable to reprise his role, he told Kotaku's Split Screen podcast. He had this to say about the strange situation. Quote, unfortunately, these things don't work out and it's a little bit heartbreaking, but if it has to go to someone else, then thank God it goes to someone I absolutely love and the fans love. The character was in good hands. What is even weirder, that's the end of the quote. What is even weirder is that Fillion just played Nathan Drake in an Uncharted fan film released this week, a role that Nolan North is known for. In some alternate universe, the two of them are just playing some elaborate prank based on an esoteric inside joke. Now, we now live in a world where Nolan North will most likely be talking to Nolan North in the upcoming Destiny 2 expansion, ever since he took on the duties of Ghost from Peter Dinklage. If other characters' voice actors move on, does he take over their spots as well? Will there be a Destiny game eventually voiced entirely by Nolan North? Only time will tell. And Steimer writes a very riveting piece of comment in the show notes. She highlighted that you're going to be replaying these story missions in the Solstice of the Heroes and says, boring.
I just am like, oh, cool. Well, here was my excitement level at first. Like, oh, a thing called Solstice of Heroes. Sounds cool. What's this event? Oh, you're just replaying story missions? Never mind. Goodbye. Like,
Now, see, I'm kind of excited about that, actually.
Yeah.
I don't.
Britt, I'm with you
Like
Britt, because I still have some alts that I need to run missions with, which is why I was so bummed when I found out on the show last week that you and Jason had played through everything, and you didn't tell me because I could have played with you with my alt. I have not played with my Warlock at all.
See?
It's okay. They're super floaty.
I know. I hate their jumps, but their supers are so good now.
These are some of the more fun. I mean, they're not a lot of missions in Destiny 2, but obviously I just finished the campaign, so it's fresh in my head. But, you get to defeat Ghoul again, you get to do the sun, you get to get your light back, you got to board the Cabal ship. Like, those were fun missions, I thought. So I'm excited to go back and play these again. Maybe, Steimer, if you play with me, you won't think it's so boring.
Well, I will say, I think, yes, first off, yes, if we play together, it won't be boring. Second, the reason why I'm particularly excited about this is because in Destiny, you could go back and play the story missions whenever you wanted. You literally could run them, and they had daily story missions that you would get, in-game rewards for. They took that away in Destiny 2. There's no way for you to replay the story missions unless you go start a new alt character. That's the only way.
So I thought, can't you meditate with, what's her name?
With Ikora, yes, but you can only do limited missions there, and there's only so many you can do at a time. In Destiny, it was like virtually unlimited. If I wanted to boot up Destiny and go play a story mission from, the House of Wolves, I could replay it over and over and over again to my heart's content. Now, would I get continued drops? No, probably not. But I could still play it and experience the story. And that was one of the things about Destiny that I really didn't like. Not only can you not like just randomly pick story missions to go play, you can't pick strikes either. Like you have to play in the strike playlist. And that to me is even the more like egregious part that they took away from the original Destiny. So I am excited to go back and play these. I'm with you, Steimer, that it's like a whoop-de-doo. It's not that exciting. But knowing how much content they've put out for these seasonal events in the past, like the Crimson Days and like the Festival of Hollows and all the other things. I don't know if that's the name of it. The Destiny Halloween event. My gosh, please tell me. Yes, it is Festival of the Lost. Is that like I never really like got that pumped about those. I love the way they decorate the tower, and like that's about it. Because most of the gear to me is like I prefer the gear that I roll with all the time. I don't necessarily want the special gear, but I know that there's a lot of hardcore collectors out there who want every single piece of gear and have all of the armor sets, and that's cool. But
I guess if I don't entirely know how this works, but it's like it starts with the Shattered set, which drops at 240, and then can be up. I'm like, so the way I'm reading this, I'm like, do I have to play these missions 3 times to get the 400? How am I getting these things? I don't understand how this works.
That's a good question.
I think each piece of armor has certain missions or certain things you have to accomplish
in the Moments of Triumph, which is back.
So I think that's what I read, because I also was confused. I'm still confused, don't get me wrong, but what I think I read was each piece of armor has specific things you have to do for it in order to upgrade it. But what I don't understand, so the armor drops at 240, and then, it's...
Like, so I'm assuming you play through these missions and you get a piece of each armor, right? And then you have to figure out how to upgrade them depending on the piece?
So
it looks like you have to do the prestige raid layers in order to get...
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the Spire of Stars will drop a 400 power weapon after each completion. And...
I think you just get the armor by participating in the event. I think you just walk up to someone, they're like, here's this shoddy-ass armor, and then it's up to you to upgrade it and make it awesome by doing the quests.
Right, I would imagine you have to infuse it up to 400, right?
Yeah.
Also, apologies for my coughs. I'm trying to hold them in as best I can.
You're doing good.
So yeah, that's interesting. The thing I'm like, the fuck about is the Nolan North, Nathan Fillion thing, especially because this, granted, they could change it, but this very much appears as though Destiny is trying to kill off this character. So for him to not reprise it in the final fucking moments is really annoying.
Yes, I'm with you, Steimer. This is super weird. I'm not quite sure why in this moment Bungie would choose to change voice actors. Like, how is Nathan Fillion's schedule so busy, or how is your production running up so last minute that you can't get the star of your game whose character you're killing off to not do whatever final lines Cade has? Like,
right. It's not
how do you fuck that? How do you fuck that up?
Stage. These are just VO lines in a booth.
Yeah.
Which, like, it's not. And Nathan Fillion had time to shoot this fucking Uncharted film.
So good.
So like, his schedule, there's some openings. He has some time. Like, so I don't know. Yeah, the story is just weird. But also, can we talk about that Uncharted fan film for a second? Because holy shit, that was good.
Yes, we can. It was very good. Britt, you look like you have thoughts.
Oh, I loved it. It was like 15 minutes, but it was the best video game to film adaptation I've ever seen. It was so on point. The little quips, I always was worried if we got a traditional, people are always like, I want the video game movie to be like the video game, but then it doesn't transition well. Yeah. But even like everything, the quips he made never got old. They were fun. There was a point where Nathan Drake was looking at a window that he knew he'd have to jump through. And like maybe 5 or 10 seconds before we saw his reaction of him learning that he has to jump through it, I thought in my head, I'm like, okay, he's totally gonna make like an ah shit face before he jumps through it, and it cut to him, and he made that face, and he jumped through the window, and then it did that cool thing where it, it got rid of the borders on the top and bottom, and it looked like you were playing the game.
The third person
The
mode.
third
When the
person.
camera comes back over his shoulder, I was like, oh fuck yes.
Oh my god, it was so good, and I was laughing, and I felt like he just all those characters were portrayed so well. I was just super impressed by it.
My only nitpick
Yes.
is that I felt like they made Elena a little bit dumb. Like she just seemed like she was, the way her face was.
Yeah,
and
I
some
didn't
of
like her.
Sure.
I was like,
I honestly even forgot she was in the movie. I was thinking of Sully and Nathan Drake.
she's
But you're
very
right.
much like shoehorned in at the end, but like her face is just too confused all of the time. I'm like, I wish I could have been there to direct her. Like, no, you don't need to be confused. You've done this before. You've been on many of these missions.
You've done this before.
and also, could they be coordinates? I'm like, their coordinates.
Yeah, it would have been.
That's what they are.
It would have been great if they had been able to get Emily Rose, who is the voice actress who plays Elena. I had the absolute pleasure of interviewing her on the red carpet at the Video Game Awards way back when for I think Uncharted 2. And she was lovely. And I back then had asked her, even back then there was rumblings of an Uncharted film
for a while,
and I was like, would you ever, want to do something like that? And she was like, it would be a dream. Of course, every voice actor wants to play their character in a live action film. And she would be so perfect for that. I just don't know why. Maybe obviously she's busy or something, but it would have been fun if they had at least asked her, because she looks surprisingly like Elena in real life. So much
they modeled the character after her.
Right. But I mean, sometimes though, the characters look just enough different that if you were to translate them to film, that it would just the uncanny valley is just big enough that you're like, this feels wrong. But I don't think it would feel that way for her.
No, I think she would have done a great job. But I think my other favorite moment was I guess, sorry, it's minor spoilers if you haven't watched it, but you should go watch it. It's not that long. It's 20 minutes. When he's fighting the dudes and he rips that guy's ponytail.
It's so good.
I was like, yes, amazing.
So good. So do you ladies think that this could have any impact on any Uncharted series, the film, or anything?
No.
I don't know that this film is ever happening, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Young Nathan Drake?
Maybe, young boy. I don't know.
Well,
possibly.
the one with what's his butt?
Yeah, Tom Holland, right? Is his name?
Oh, yeah.
So that's the guy.
Lord
So
knows.
he's the one he's from Spider-Man: Homecoming, right? And so he's the one who's supposed to play young Nathan Drake in the Uncharted film. I don't think that this fan film is going to change that whatsoever. Maybe if they hadn't anticipated putting older Nathan Drake in, maybe they're maybe we should do some flashback sequences with Tom, or maybe we should add in some kind of cut to the future and Nathan Fillion is older Nathan Drake versus young, very young Nathan Drake. I just, knowing how the studio process works and knowing that Sony Pictures has been making movies for a very long time, this fan film is probably not going to deter or interrupt anything that massive studio organization already has in the works, right? Because a lot of these contracts take years to develop, and more importantly, the scripts take years to finalize, and that's why Hollywood just moves slow, and it's unfortunate and sad. But as much as I love that people are like, but look at what happened with Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds, maybe that could happen for Uncharted. I was like, I don't think so. I think that those are two very different cases as to the circumstances around the Deadpool movie versus the circumstances around the Uncharted movie. That being said, this was an amazing fan film. If you haven't watched it, it's 15 minutes. Take the time, go watch it. Don't watch a bootleg version. Go to the actual YouTube channel, which I'm going to pull up right now, because you guys should give the director all of the views and not some other channel who just ripped it and put it up there. The channel is from Alan Ungar, and the channel is just his name. So it's youtube.com, I believe, /Alan Ungar. If you guys want to look it up, it's ALLAN and then UNGAR. That's his name, and that's the fan film, and that's the legitimate place that you guys should watch it.
I want a Netflix series of this. I don't know how Hollywood works or Netflix or anything, but
It's had
ignorant
like
fan,
2 million
that's what I
views,
want.
you guys. Like, that's pretty impressive.
I want it so bad. So good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway, not to get too far off track, we have one more story that I put in especially for Miss Christine Steimer, because she has made not one but 2 Homestar Runner references over the last 2
This
shows.
validates me so much, this story being a thing.
I know, right? Trogdor co-op board game based on beloved Homestar Runner's dragon fulfills Kickstarter goal. So Polygon wrote this up. Now, normally, we don't do Kickstarter stories. We get pitched them all the time, and it just doesn't make sense for us to talk about every single game that's on Kickstarter. But this one I had to bring up. So is it Trogdor or Trogdor?
Trogdor.
Trogdor, a dragon from the long-running Flash series Homestar Runner, stars in the official Trogdor the board game, launched its Kickstarter. The campaign combines the recent popularity of board games with the appeal, of course, of Homestar Runner. Trogdor and Strong Bad, the character who created the iconic dragon. With all the campaign's draws, fans have already pledged the entirety of the $75,000 goal, less than 3 hours after the Kickstarter went live. Steimer, while I'm reading this, you want to pull up where it's at right now. In this turn-based board game, anywhere from 2 to 6 players assist the one-armed dragon in burninating peasants and villages while avoiding human protectors. Players choose their difficulty, set up the board, and are dealt a Keeper of Trogdor and item, which each give Trogdor action and movement perks, not necessarily respectively. A gameplay video on the Kickstarter page featuring Homestar Runner character Strong Sad leads viewers through a few rounds demonstrating card draws, movement, and actions. So this playable rendition of the character was created by the Homestar Runner creators, the Brothers Chaps, in collaboration with veteran board game designer James Ernst. If you guys want to learn more about the game and about the panel where they talked about it, you can check all that out over on the Kickstarter page.
It is at $218,000.
Woo!
So more than double their original ask. Good for them.
Yep.
So
Sorry,
have you
Steimer.
backed it yet, Steimer?
Sorry, what?
Have you backed it yet?
No, I haven't. I'm thinking about it.
You should. And could you please translate what all of this means? Like, what's happening here?
This is fascinating to me. I haven't so I saw Bernie tweet this, and I was like, holy shit, yes.
So let me read a little bit more for you, Britt, to give you a little bit more context. The real-life adaptation of the Burninator, which, you know, Steimer brought up on the show,
Trogdor the Burninator, yes.
Okay.
will come as a delight to longtime loyal fans of Homestar Runner. Trogdor was introduced over 15 years ago in a Flash cartoon, Dragon, which wrestler-themed character Strong Bad fulfills a fan's email simple request to draw a dragon. Strong Bad names it Trogdor and sings its backstory, including its love for burninating peasants and cottage roofs. The quirky-looking dragon quickly captured the hearts of Flash viewers. Following up on the popularity of the cartoon, the site published an actual Trogdor RPG Flash game. Outside of the Homestar Runner site itself, video game fans may recognize the name from the self-titled Guitar Hero 2 track Trogdor, a polished metal version of the original cartoon's Trogdor theme. While Trogdor is a relatively ancient internet icon, the Homestar Runner site itself is just about 18 years old, in fact. There's also a certain timelessness to being a fire-breathing, one-armed dragon burning down helpless humans.
Yes, there is. Yeah, I'm definitely going to take a look at this after and like see what I want to like back it at, because they have some Wormwood stuff, and I love Wormwood, so.
Wormwood.
Not
Wormwood.
Wormwood.
You know the people who make the little shields for Take This?
They're wonderful shields. Everyone should buy one. They're fantastic.
It's true. All right, so that's going to do it for us for news. Steimer, do you have any parting thoughts about this game? Are you excited?
Burninating all the peasants, burninating all the people, and his name was Trogdor. That was a little bit of the song.
I feel like I need to hear the rest of this song now.
That's catchy as fuck, Sam.
She's going to pull it up. We're going to play it at the top of the next segment. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, we are going to take a very short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some video games that we've been playing. Stick with us. We'll see you in a minute. Welcome back, everybody. It's segment 2 of the What's Good Games podcast, where we talk to you about what we've been playing here on this video game show. So last week, we played, or we talked about, quite a few different games. Variety, a cornucopia. But this week, both Britt and Steimer have been playing Octopath Traveler. So a lot of you out there have been writing in about this, wanting to know our thoughts, our feelings. In fact, several of you wrote into Dear WGG. So let's start, shall we, with Mr. J. Mahui, who says, "What's good, ladies? What are you enjoying most about Octopath Traveler? I love almost everything from the art style to the combat systems, but what I am finding most enjoyable is being able to pick it up and put it down. I can play a little while preparing a meal or have a longer play session while Sarah is playing a video game on the TV. Yay for the power of the Nintendo Switch." And then we've got Miss Jessica Salisbury who wrote in, "Hey, I'm playing Octopath Traveler this week and I've been loving it. I haven't played any JRPGs aside from the random Pokemon game here and there. Do you have any suggestions for other games like Octopath? Thanks." And then Miss Male writes, "Octopath Traveler is sold out on Amazon. Womp womp. It's still available at GameStop where I got mine, and well, available digitally, but that's besides the point. The point is that it seems to be selling well. What do you think makes this JRPG stand out? Is it the release window, the unique 2D, 3D art, story and more story, the promise of a JRPG that's actually accessible to gamers that don't typically game in that genre? Who cares why? Good job, Octopath." So, ladies, you have been playing. I gave the code that was provided to What's Good Games by Nintendo to Miss Christine Steimer so she could jump in. Britt, did you also get a code provided by Nintendo?
Ask me after the show.
What?
Okay.
Okay.
I guess that's a no.
Okay. That was a little dramatic. I don't want to send the wrong message. No, I did not.
Okay. I was like, a simple yes or no would have sufficed, but you can tell me the backstory about that later. So, you two obviously have much more experience, in fact, all of the experience in the JRPG realm, which is why I passed the code off. Britt, what have been your first impressions of Octopath Traveler?
So I'm only maybe 4 to 5 hours in. So I am barely qualified to speak about this game because a game of this magnitude, you got to put a lot more into it. So I have been playing with a warrior, and I always get his name wrong. Eldrick? Yeah. And I just recruited Primrose, so I only have 2 of the characters.
You got Sexy Dancer Lady?
I got Sexy Dancer Lady. So I played the demo when it came out. Gosh, was that last year? It must have been last year, obviously. Yeah. And I did essentially the same missions that I did now. I'm a little farther now than I got in the demo, obviously. And, I mean, I love it. To talk about what Molly was asking, like what makes this game stand out.
Olbrick. We were both wrong. I literally pulled up the game on my Switch to check his name.
Olbrick. What I think makes this game stand out is obviously the visuals of this game are beautiful and gorgeous. They do some really fun things, but also, it's a 16-bit looking JRPG from Square Enix, and that I think is very, very attractive in itself. Also, the portable RPG world out there. I mean, 3DS is like not dying. That's not the right word. It's fading out.
Sunsetting.
It's what?
Sunsetting.
Thank you. I love that. The Vita is basically dead in the water. Sorry. So the Switch is one of the only handheld things out there that you can play these JRPGs on, and I think that has a lot of allure to it. I love it so far. I mean, this is the kind of game I grew up on, but like I said, still very early on. I don't really know how the story is intertwined or the level of interaction the characters have, so Steimer, you might have a little bit more concrete evidence to back up your feelings and thoughts on this game because you've probably played more than I have.
I haven't played more than you have, but I have enjoyed everything I've been playing so far. Because there's not only is the art style charming and beautiful, I agree with what Jay said. Like, there's something about having the JRPG on a portable that makes it a million times more appealing to me. Like, there's something about I'm sitting here and I'll grind through a forest or whatever to level my people up and not mind that I'm doing it for whatever reason because it's small and portable, and I feel like my brain is okay with that because I used to play Pokemon on a Game Boy and it's a similar thing, and so I can handle that. But whenever I'm sitting on my couch on a big TV, if I have to grind in those games, I'm just like, I don't know what it is about it. It makes no sense. I'm literally doing the same thing, just on a smaller screen that I can carry around with me.
Yeah.
But there was something about it, and there was something nice also. It's been so hot here that I haven't been able to play regular games, so I can just take my Switch into my lovely air-conditioned bedroom and, like, lay on my bed and play. That's magical.
Yeah, it really is. It's a good time. As to why the game is selling out, I mean, Square Enix even had to issue an apology. I think someone mentioned that in one of these questions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because in Japan, it's gone ski, man, and I think Amazon's even back-ordered.
Buy digitally, people.
Yeah, obviously they underestimated the amount of people who would want this game, which I think is awesome. I think, like I said, the Switch is going to be the next JRPG bad boy machine factory that everyone's going to want to play their JRPGs on.
Please.
And I don't know if this is true or not, but I can't help but wonder if the SD cards on the carts, if that hinders manufacturing at all, if that slows it down. I'm not sure if that causes bottlenecks, but
No idea.
it's a Brit theory. I don't know if it's founded or not. And then just so I tackle Jessica's question before, any other suggestions for games like Octopath? So I don't know what consoles you have, Jessica, but obviously you have a Switch. So unfortunately, there aren't a lot of JRPGs on the Switch that I can think of. Like, obviously, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is there. That's like an 80-hour time sink, which is, I mean, I think it's fun, but I ultimately quit. There's Lost Sphere and I Am Setsuna. I would recommend I Am Setsuna before Lost Sphere. And then I know there are other games on the Switch that are ports of other JRPGs that have released in the past, but I can get back to you when I've played more of those. Anyway, Octopath Traveler, I love it. It reminds me of the games I used to play growing up, like I said, and it's just so beautiful, and it's so fun to look at, and the music and the sound is just, and it's so cool to be on Twitter and watching my timeline. You know, there's a few games that release, like major titles that everyone talks about, but I feel like every other tweet is people complaining that they don't have enough time to play Octopath Traveler. Like, maybe they have to go to work, or maybe they have to sleep, or maybe they're up till 4 a.m. playing it, but I feel like a lot of people are talking about this right now, and it's really fun to see.
Yeah, what's been interesting to me is, so I picked the Huntress to start with because, duh, if I could have a big cat, I'm gonna have a big cat. That's just me. But then, you know, Alana and a few other people were like making fun of me because her dialogue can be somewhat cringy. It's just like, I don't mind it too much, but it's very old English and, oh, thou whomst blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, it's that kind of shit. And you're like, all right, sure. I don't know why you're speaking so prim and properly when you are from a village in the middle of a forest, but okay.
You do you.
This is the thing we're dealing with here. But that snow leopard is just so damn good. He just comes in there and fucks shit up. He's just like, rawr,
so is he a summon, or is he fight alongside you?
He's a summon, basically, but an unlimited summon.
Ooh.
So the thing with the Huntress class, you can have an axe or a bow and arrow, and those you can just cycle between those two in your attack scroll or whatever. Then there's summon beast, and you can both summon like your snow leopard, who's always there, who you can summon an unlimited amount of times, or if you're going through the woods, you can capture you can capture creatures that you run into. If you like whittle them down, it's a little bit like Pokemon in that sense. You have to whittle them down a bit, get them vulnerable, capture them, and then you can summon them for a limited amount of times in fights in the future. So I have like a little stack of like the pigs that are called mossy meeps or whatever will give you healing. They'll heal you for 500 points, which is more than you needed for the beginning of the game. And so I have a bunch of pigs. And then I have like a bunch of foxes that I captured because they do really good slashing damage. Like, so I have my little repertoire of forest creatures that follow me around. Now you don't see them on screen, but you know, you can kind of make it up in your head canon. And so I find that really enjoyable. And then, of course, knowing me, the next person I had to go for was the thief. Because if I'm about anything in life, it's stealing shit. Not that I have stolen anything in my actual life, but in video games, there was nothing more that I loved to like live out that fantasy of.
You always love the rogue. It's true.
I know, I really do. And I know people will ask, I haven't played More Hero U yet because it's been too hot. Like, I don't want to sit in this chair playing that game. I will melt. But So yeah, so I'm enjoying that. I think the next person I'll get is the healer. Although, so I saw Sky Williams post this video about Primrose, who you just got, yes?
Yes.
And it made me rethink because I was like, oh, there's probably no way I'm actually going to use Primrose. I love the idea of her in my party, but like, what the fuck am I going to do with the dancer? I don't know. I don't know how to, like, I don't do a lot of buffs, debuffs in my playstyle in JRPGs. I usually just go full aggro and like kill the thing before it kills me. But he showed this clip of Primrose doing this weird dance thing that she has where it debuffs your party, but then also gives you an extraordinary boost of something else. So he went from level, I want to say it was 27 or 26, to level 34 in like a couple battles because her XP boost was so insane that it just like skyrocketed them. And I was like, holy, maybe I need to think about adding Primrose to my party.
Yeah, she has a very interesting backstory, and it's definitely, you know, adult themed, and it's
what
very,
what does that mean?
She's sexy.
Sexy. She's essentially a whore, but she has her motivation.
Like a prostitute?
Yeah, they call her a
lady.
They call. Yeah.
What do they call it? Ill repute or something repute?
A lady of the night. The terminal in the game, they're like, you're a whore. And she's like, yes, I am, but I own it. Obviously, she has her ulterior motives, and she's doing the thing she's doing for a very noble cause.
Is she like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman? If that's all, if you just say yes, I'm in.
Yes.
Have you seen Pretty Woman?
It's been a hot minute. I don't remember. I haven't seen it in probably 15 years. So I
don't know Primrose's story yet, so I cannot confirm.
No, I will. Yeah. Anyway, so I like her as a character, but Stein, we're talking about like jumping levels. What's it? Olberich? I can't remember. Olberich. I can never remember his goddamn name. Olberich. And I was in the beginning area, level 5 or 6, and then I came across this enemy, and they're one of the enemies in RPGs where you only see like once every like 50 spawns. That if you kill them, they're very hard to kill, they give you a butt ton of XP, you level really quick.
Oh, they have those in there?
They do, and I encountered 2 of them within like minutes of each other, and so I went from level like 7 to level like 21.
Really?
So I am way OP right now, and I'm kind of upset about it because it's like part of the fun of JRPGs is to be, you know, like I like the strategy in RPGs, JRPGs, turn-based battles, and being OP is fun to some extent, but after a while it's like, okay, now I'm just killing everyone. I shouldn't have killed the second one I came across because now I'm like, wow, big boss man, demigod.
Yeah, but your other guys aren't that level.
No, poor Primrose. She's like a little petal in the wind.
She's like level 2 and level 21.
Yeah.
Petal in the wind. That was a good joke, Britt. Good job.
Thanks. But yeah, it's I'm really enjoying it. I'm curious to see how, because I only have Primrose and Olberich. And he's with Primrose, but he's not interacting with her in her story. Like she's having some moments and he doesn't pop. And now I understand when you have 8 characters, it would be very hard probably to write specific dialogue for
all because you're not sure when they're
exactly. There's no order to how you have to get these, but I hope that there is some character interaction there where there is acknowledgement of some of the story elements going on. But if not, that's fine. I just hope there is some of that because I feel like that would be interesting for character building and getting to know these characters. But anyway, we'll see. I plan to play a lot of it this week and over the weekend and in the weeks to come. Very excited.
Yes. This is like scratching an itch that I didn't know I had.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're so into it because you just did a whole bunch of Persona 5ing.
Yeah, but again, it's because it's on the Switch. Like, it's the stupidest thing I've ever said out loud, but I don't know what it is, but it makes a world of difference to me. For whatever reason, I'm like, brain is like, yes, this thing is a good thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, I want to ask you two, as somebody who is very much like, you're gonna have to maybe drag me kicking and screaming to this game, even though I told Greg, because he and Jared were talking about it, I was like, oh, maybe I'll try it, and then I like promptly gave the code to Steimer.
I appreciate your sacrifice.
Listen, I'm here for you, my friend. The thing I want to ask is, in Molly's question, you know, she brings up the promise of a JRPG that's actually accessible to gamers that don't typically game in that genre. Like, what is it about Octopath Traveler that makes it accessible to gamers who aren't traditional JRPG players? Can you, like, give me any specifics?
I don't know that I would necessarily agree with that statement she made.
Okay.
Like, I don't know that there is anything that would, if you don't like JRPGs, especially you, Andrea, you don't like them because of turn-based battles. That is exactly what this is. Like, so you're not going to like that.
I think if you look at a game that's like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which I say is the bar to entry, like if you've never played a JRPG in your life, don't even try to. I mean, that's dramatic. Play the game, just expect for a huge learning curve. As someone who has been playing JRPGs her whole life, essentially, I even had a learning curve with that game. But with Octopath Traveler, it's simple in the sense that you have your attack prompt, you have specials, you have defend, flee, and items. And so it's not overly complicated. There are some mechanics in it where, you know, you can save up a few rounds and then unleash like a super move that's more powerful than like your basic attack. So maybe that's what she's saying. It's more accessible.
Yeah.
It says it doesn't do anything
Doesn't
that hasn't
have a ton of systems, like it's not overloaded with systems.
It's the systems are simplistic in the sense that they go back to the bare minimum of like what you would expect in a JRPG. So
Yes.
it's
Okay.
Jason has actually been asking me about it. He's like, "Do you think I'll like it?" And I'm like, "No, dude. Like, you're someone who doesn't care about story in video games. You're someone who doesn't care about characters. I don't know why the hell, but he downloaded it tonight because he's just so entranced by the art and the music. So I'm like, all right, you do you, but I don't know if you're gonna like it." So.
Yeah, Andrew, because yours is so specifically tied to the battle system that I know you don't like, I don't think you would really get on with this game. I think you just get tired of it because like you are gonna have to grind unless you do what Britt did and find these two random things to auto level you to oblivion, or if you do the weird Primrose dance and get lucky and have like 10x XP on. You should just
It's good times.
Well,
It's
that's
fun.
good. That's good to know. Yeah, I don't know why. I just turn-based.
okay. We don't all have to like everything.
Well, and it's not that I universally hate turn-based battle systems. I just, most of the time in JRPGs, a lot of the systems are so obtuse. You just have to like spend so much time learning it instead of knowing how to do the battle and then just perfecting your skill at it. Like when I think about a shooter, you know, obviously I've been playing a lot more of The Division. I think about how that system is easy to learn but difficult to master, right? Like it takes like, they're like, you have this selection of skills you can choose from. It's like turrets and grenades and all these other things. And then you have to learn how to combo them together and when to use your water bottle power up, when to use your soda, when to deploy your health packs. Like that's stuff that you can learn by just putting the pieces together, but learning those pieces is very like simple and on its face, and the game explains it to you like very readily. Like it's just like you hover over the item, bam, all the information's right there. I feel like every time I've tried to play a JRPG, and I don't know if this is just like a localization thing, or what, or if it depends on the developer, I feel like the systems are so difficult to learn, and that I have to go look up walkthroughs or guides to figure out just how to play the game, and that's where I like that one extra step is what makes me really frustrated. Now, I fully realize this is not every JRPG and that I'm kind of blanket statementing them, and I apologize for that. But the thing is like those tiny hurdles in a world where there are thousands of video games to play are just enough to make me go, nah, I'm good.
How many JRPGs have you played
Or attempted.
or attempted?
Less than a dozen.
And so I think so you're talking about shooters in The Division as if it's super easy. I would say that I mean, obviously holding a trigger and pushing a button is easy to shoot, but I think that the whole point is like how people feel about games like The Division, you feel about JRPGs. I think it's once you've played a few JRPGs, they all use the basic system, and especially a game like Octopath Traveler, where this is about as basic as it gets. Like if you go to like Final Fantasy on the NES, like this is it. Right, this is the same sort of thing. So I think it's more of you probably going into games like, I don't know how old you were when you started playing JRPGs, but you know, growing
Definitely
up, like,
in my 20s. I
Okay,
never
so
played
yeah.
JRPGs when I was a kid.
So yeah, like tutorials, especially in older games, if you jumped in to try to play in Final Fantasy 9, like probably, I mean, that's pretty simple too, but there are more options and it's a little bit more of a complicated of a game. So I think it's just more of the fact that you haven't played enough JRPGs to really get the foundation built. You know, it's kind of like shooters. Like every game can be a shooter, but each shooter has its certain different tweaks about it that you can master in different mechanics. And the same goes with JRPGs.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I agree with Britt. I think you wouldn't have a hard time in the battle systems in terms of learning them. You'd be fine because everything has a descriptor on it. You know exactly what it does. So I know before you were saying when you were trying to play one of the older Final Fantasies, you were like, what the fuck does this thing do?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, when I was trying to play Final Fantasy IX, I had to have Alexa Ray sit next to me and explain every single item because the button, there was apparently, somebody wrote in and said that there was like a button prompt that will give you like the text of what everything does, but I didn't know what that was and I couldn't find that button prompt like in the control scheme in the settings.
Yeah, no, you would not have that issue here. Everything is very well explained. You don't like everything in the inventory when you hover over it says exactly what it does. It's like, okay, this increases my maximum HP. Okay, this heals me. This heals the whole group. This heals a single person. Like, it's very clear what everything does. It has a stupid name, right? It's like Inspiriting Plum. You're like, what the fuck is that? But then you just hover over it and it's like, oh, this increases the SP to a single ally. Okay.
Like, why do you have such weird names? But yeah.
See, but that's my point, is like, how many different items are there, Steimer?
Right now, there's like a couple different kinds of grapes. Those will all heal you. Plums, which add SP.
Why can't there just be, what's SP?
SP is your magic points.
Yeah, so every JRPG has your hit points, you know, your health, and your magic, and there's always going to be items that heal your health and items that heal your magic. You're going to have items that resurrect
like your mana,
you.
yeah,
you're going to have items that cure blindness and silence and stone or paralyze, like.
And those are things
there's
that
already there's already too much going on. Like, why do I have to be blind? What's that about?
I'm not going to need them often, but it's good to have those items with you because occasionally, like, you'll run up against an enemy that will do these things and then you can clear them away. I mean, you don't have to have these items if you don't want. You could still continue and wait for the debuff to go away, but it makes the battle a lot easier. So, like, that you wouldn't have a problem with. The battle system itself is fairly straightforward. The only thing that they do that's sort of different / interesting is each enemy has a little shield icon next to them, and it has a number. So the shield has 1. It means you need to do 1 vulnerability damage to them in order to break that shield. Or if it's like a boss, it'll be a 6, and you have to kind of whittle away their shield before you can do mega damage to them. And each one also has a few boxes of like question marks because you don't know what their vulnerability is when you first start out. But then so say I hit somebody with an axe and they are vulnerable to the axe. It will now, anytime I meet that enemy, show me that they are vulnerable to this axe. And it will take away a shield point while it's damaging. And then once you've broken their shield, it's like break, and they like get little dizzy things above their head and they're vulnerable, and then you can do all the damage. And you can't necessarily murder them in one shot, but sometimes you can, depending on how weak they are. So that's kind of like the thing. That's the mechanic of the game that would take you about 10 minutes to learn, is just like, oh, I have to figure out what damages these people's shields. But then once you know, you're good.
I think I'm hopeless. I think I am.
Yeah.
I think even just listening to you explain, and thank you so much, because like I know that there's people out there like me who are just like, Japanese role-playing games are just like a foreign land. They're just like, I don't play them, I don't know about them, I don't care about them. And there are people out there like you, Britt, who are like, I've been playing JRPGs my entire life. They are like the thing that keeps me warm at night. They're, as Steimer likes to say, a hug, and it's just like, it's interesting to me, and that's what I think is so wonderful and fantastic about video games, is that there's so many different styles of games that we all can find a genre that we really gravitate towards and love, and that genre can change, over time. Maybe as kids we love something, and as adults we love something else. And I just like, it's one of those things that I keep trying to force myself to try, because as somebody who talks about video games for a living, I always told myself it's necessary to at least dabble in everything to try it out. I just don't know why this is the one genre out of every genre that I just cannot really force myself to get into. Every time I pick it up and try it, I'm like, I'm so bored and I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're bored by it, that's one thing. If it's just like, I don't understand the mechanics and I don't care to, obviously that's another part of it. You have to be drawn to this sort of game and enjoy this sort of combat because it is turn-based. It can be slow, but it can also, there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. But yeah, I mean, if I were trying to get, someone who only plays Call of Duty to play freaking Earthbound, they'd be like, what the hell is this boring ass bullshit? Why is everything moving so slow? And that's okay. Like you said, that's the beauty of video games.
Different strokes, different folks.
Strokes.
Indeed. Speaking of video games, that was a weird segue. I neglected last week when I was talking about all of the things that I downloaded for my Switch when I was on my trip to mention that I also downloaded Mario Tennis Aces. So this is a game that came out a couple of weeks ago, and this is another code that Nintendo sent over. And the folks over at Kinda Funny had been talking about this game forever, and I was like kind of jealous that they got this game super early, and I was like, I want to be playing it. But then now that I'm playing it, I'm like, oh, this game is fun. But like, it's not a game that I feel compelled to pick up and play all the time. And I don't know if that's because I never have really been drawn to the Mario sports games, or if it's because something about the gameplay loop isn't as rewarding as I'd like it to be. And I think a lot of that has to deal with the fact that I haven't really dug into fine-tuning my skills with the mechanics of the tennis matches, and particularly like learning how to use the special moves. Because right now I feel like I'm kind of back in the days of when I used to play Wii Tennis, where I'm just winging it. You're just like, you got your little wrist flick. You're like, oh, I'm going to slice it here. I'm going to do this move here. But in reality, you're just kind of winging it the whole time and just like hoping for the best. And I feel like that's the way that I've been playing Mario Tennis Aces. Every time I go through, you have these like special quirks on each of the levels. Like one of the levels that has me hung up right now is a level with the booze. We're like in a haunted mansion, and there's these weird mirrors that if you bounce the ball into the mirror, it like swallows it and spits it out in another section of the court. And I can never figure out how to block against like the strike moves, the power shot moves. And I feel like there's just some layer of the learning process that I just haven't taken the time to do. And I just am kind of button mashing in a way, and tennis is really not a game you should probably button mash. Have either of you two played it?
I haven't played it, but a common concern I had been reading about was that it gets really hard and there are some random ass difficulty spikes. Have you come across any of that?
Yeah. So, and the thing about, and there was just a story out today that they're nerfing, I think, Koopa Jr. Oh, no. Who are they nerfing?
The fact that they have to nerf something in a Mario tennis game is kind of funny to me.
Welcome to 2018.
They're nerfing Bowser Jr. Excuse me. I don't know why I said Koopa Jr. So it includes, this is the patch apparently that everybody wants. And so like, this is a thing that, so John played this game start to finish, and he was kind of the one that was like, oh, why haven't you played this yet? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'll get to it. I'm playing, I was playing Zelda and Inside and hating my life playing Crash Bandicoot. So I finally, got to Mario Tennis Aces. And I think the reason why people are getting a little frustrated is because it's not just tennis. They kind of throw these weird modifiers in when you get to different matches because they're like themed after the characters who you're playing against, right? And like, for example, I was saying like it was the Boos who are in this haunted mansion. They're these weird mirrors that like eat the tennis balls and spit them out like portals. And it only gets more difficult as you progress through the game. And so it kind of takes the skill-based system out of it and puts in this random difficulty that you have literally no control over, that you just kind of have to like hope for the best. And I see that's why people can get frustrated, because when you bring in that element of chance into a game that's so based on skill, it gets really frustrating because you're like, listen, I've got the skills I need to pass this level. You're implementing an element of chance that's forcing me to fail in a way that I can't prevent. And that is what leads to frustration on the part of players. And I think that's where people are upset.
That makes sense.
But other than that, the game is fun. I haven't played any multiplayer so far, and I feel like based off the people I've talked to that have played, that's where the game really shines, is that people have really been enjoying the kind of head-to-head that you can do. Like I mentioned, haven't tried it yet. There is going to be a tournament, a Mario Tennis Aces tournament online in August. Apparently, people are also hoping that there's going to be nerfs to Waluigi and Boo.
Poor Waluigi. He just can't get an effing break.
Well, I mean, he's a bad guy. He's a villain.
I know, but he has a troubled past. No one loves Waluigi. Waluigi is underrepresented in Nintendo titles. He needs his own game. Him and Wario need their own little like spin-off thing where they go off.
What if they had a Paper Mario RPG, but it was them?
I would play the shit out of that.
Fun?
Oh my god.
On the Switch?
I mean, Waluigi. He's nowhere to be found. He's not even in Smash Brothers. Everyone wants Waluigi. He's the bad guy.
Wah!
He's always so picked on. No, there's no love for the man. I feel bad for him. I really do. He's just lost. He has no love.
He's just lost.
He's misunderstood, and I'll leave it at that. Sorry, that was a rant.
Fair enough.
I was just reading a tweet about people talking about nerfing Bowser Jr.
Remember the Nerf footballs back in the day?
Very upset about Bowser Jr. But I'm looking forward to playing more. Probably going to jump in. I am reminded of just how annoying the friend code system is. Man, I love my Switch. It is great. Kudos to Nintendo for creating a piece of hardware that is addictive and infectious and wonderful and that tons of people are buying. But man, that friend code system is a pain in the booty. So I tried to pull up my friend code on the Nintendo Online app because they made this supposedly handy app that you can do things with. And no, your friend code not listed in the app. Nowhere to add friend codes in the app. You have to use your Nintendo Switch. Like, you have to physically have your console in your hand to look up your friend code. And I was like, this seems like a gigantic mistake. Hopefully,
put a note on your phone. That's what your friend code is, so that you can have it on the go.
No, you do. You have to have it. And so, like, I think if anybody from Nintendo out there is listening, if the one request I could make would be when you launch the online service in its entirety in the fall, which I believe September is the date, right? That all this is going live. Please make it available to add friends and look up your friend code from the app. Literally every other system has it available. It's not that much to ask. It's just it's just a setting in your profile. I can look up my profile settings in the app. Oh, why I can't look up my friend code, I don't know.
Maybe also overhaul your entire online chat and app thought entirely. That's
a much bigger ask, but sure, since we're making requests.
But why break the perfectly round wheel? Why put chips in it if it rolls perfect on its own? I don't understand. Also, a tip for the Switch people out there. I play my Switch docked and undocked, and when you play it docked, there's obviously no little headphone jack in the Pro controller, which is what I play on. So what I learned, and this is common knowledge, but apparently I was not made aware of it, that your PlayStation Gold headsets with a USB dongle, it works on the Switch. So you can go ahead and use that if you want to use headphones while you're playing the Switch docked.
Wow. Did not know that.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I'm like, how am I going to do this? And I went to the Google machine and I found out that you can use a wide variety of headsets that have USB connectivity and whatnot. And they also someone out there is making a dongle. So if you want to do wireless, also you can.
I saw the Bluetooth dongle. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Why not put a freaking audio jack on your... Okay. I love Nintendo so much. I really do. I want the best for them.
I also very painfully bit the bullet and bought the Splatoon Joy-Cons, the neon pink and green ones. Because John and I keep mixing up our Switches because we both just have like the standard gray Joy-Cons that come with the Switch. And so he's like, somebody has to get different Joy-Cons so we know whose Switch is whose. And I was like, I'll do it. I want the pink ones.
Perfect.
I've always really wanted the SNES looking ones that you can get off Etsy.
The custom painted ones?
But they $180.
Jeez Louise. I thought
Yikes.
$80 was outrageous. $79.99 for new Joy-Cons? That's a racket, Nintendo. A racket, I tell
And the
you.
couch.
But they look so pretty.
They do.
Oh, those are beautiful.
Oh my gosh, they're really pretty. Oh, look at how cute they
look
are.
so good.
Ugh.
I want them so bad.
Oh my gosh, I can't even right now.
No.
I'm
like, one day I'll budget for it and buy it, but today's not that day.
Britt, do you want to talk about what happened with Vampyr, or are you too upset?
No, I'm kind of upset, but I want a temperature check on this. So
Okay.
I am playing Vampyr. I played Vampyr, and I did it in the way that I didn't kill people. And as I've talked about, you feed on the blood of civilians, you kill people, you get a lot of XP, you can unlock some really cool skills that you don't necessarily need, but it makes your life so much easier. Problem with that is you kill too many people, the health level of each district can fall, and if it goes below critical, people start go missing, they will start dying, you will lose side quests, which means you lose XP. Now, if you're doing a no-kill run like I am, you cannot afford for that to happen because you have to do all the side quests possible so you can get XP. You're scrounging for XP. Like, I am, like, on my hands and knees, like, plucking it off the ground. I'm like, give me all of your XP. So, with that said, I had to spec my character, Jonathan Reed, very carefully. So I gave him a lot of stamina, I gave him a lot of health, and I had 2 skills that I perfected just so I could, like, get through the game, because it is difficult when you don't kill people, and that's the whole point of the game. So I'm at the second to last boss battle, and I'm not going to spoil anything, so don't worry. But the spike in difficulty got pretty freaking intense. Now, that's okay. I like to go through fights again and again, especially if it's hard for the sake of being hard, I'm not about it. But if I know I can win, I just have to get good. That's fun to me. The problem is that the idea is that you're a vampire and you can't really be killed, obviously, unless you get like a stake to the heart. So every time you die in a battle, you just kind of spawn again in the midst of black mist and bats or whatever the fuck it is vampires do. So what happens is the game is like, all right, well, since you actually technically didn't die and we're not restarting the scenario, you've lost all of your items. You don't have your ammo that you used in the fight before you. You don't have any of the resources that you used in that fight. You have to start from zero. Now,
Thank you.
Yeah. And so I think that's such a design flaw because the problem is that in order to craft health, in order to like have health on hand, you have to craft it, which means you have to go to your room, which granted where this fight took place wasn't too far away, but you have to go to a room and craft it. Now, in order to craft it, you need materials. In order to get those materials, you have to go around the city killing things and grinding for those materials. Yes,
Can you not reload a save?
No, you can't manually save this game. It auto saves. I mean, that's my understanding. At one point, I never. No, there's no manual save. So it's not like in most games where it's like, okay, you walk into a room, you see like a save icon, you're like, all right, there's a fight that's about to go down. It auto saves. So the problem I faced was
you turn the console off really quick and try and like, have you ever done that where you try and cheat it? You're like, oh fuck, I fucked it up. Turn it off. Turn it off.
And so also like to succeed in this boss fight, I needed a lot of ammo. Now the problem is that you can buy ammo from merchants, but you have to run around the districts, all the districts, to buy ammo from different merchants. It doesn't take a long time to do that. Maybe like 4 to 5 minutes to get from one end of the map to the other. There's no fast travel in this game. But then what you have to do in order to replenish those ammo supplies is you have to sleep at night, at which point every time you sleep and you wake up, people are sick again, and then you have to craft serums in order to save those people. Anyway, it got to a point where I was
exhausting.
No, I love Vampyr. I played this game all day and happily did so because I was so into it. From the story and the characters and the setting, I was all about it. But the pacing was so good. I'm like, okay, if something's gonna happen, this is gonna be an awesome fight. I know I'm getting toward the end. I'm really excited to see what happens. And then it's like, okay, hard stop. We're putting on the brakes. You have to craft more medicine. You have to go sleep so you can buy more ammo. And the loading screens on the Xbox One aren't the quickest. And so it was just really more of like, it disrupted the flow and it made me so frustrated because there's no way I was going to defeat this boss without drinking the blood of the civilians, which if you do so, another little wrench in it, there are 4 endings in Vampyr. Good ending, okay ending, sad ending, worst ending. If you kill any of the citizens, you get the worst endings. Well, not the worst, you get the less than perfect ending. So I'm like, I don't want to drink the blood of civilians, but I don't have enough patience to go around grinding for these materials just for another shot at the boss, which I might end up dying, and then I'm going to have to do it all over again. So I kind of rage quit and I just pulled up YouTube and watched the final like 20 minutes of the game and watched the cutscenes. And I'm like, okay, that ended very well. And I was pleased with the ending I would have gotten and whatever. But wow, that was therapeutic.
Wow, it's crazy to think after all of the time that you put into the game that one little hang up made you go, fuck it, I'm going to YouTube.
I don't know that I would call that a little hang up. That seems like a substantial amount of annoyance.
I think that in the annoying part is that you lose all the resources you use in the boss fight. Now, if I could go downstairs and just buy everything instantly and replenish and go back up, no problem. But it was going to be a matter of me wandering around town, killing bad guys to get one part of this ingredient so I can create health potions. And you have to get different levels of those ingredients from different enemies. So unless I was doing something totally wrong, it would be like a literal grind for a chance to fight this boss, which was very difficult because I was doing a no-kill run. And so, yeah, I was like, I'm not willing to put in the time to try to have an attempt at this boss, which is probably going to kill me until I, quote, get good like 5 or 6 tries in and learn the patterns of it.
Right, and I wasn't trying to be reductive. That wasn't my intent in my statement about like, oh, it's just like a little thing, like, you know, like you explaining it and saying like I can't imagine my frustration if, for example, I had gone into the Ganon fight with like all of the supplies that I had and I used like all of these potions or I used all these elixirs and all of these meals and like I broke 3 weapons or whatever, like, and then like I didn't beat him and then it kicked me out and I had lost everything that I used in the fight and I had to go like get all that shit again. Oh yeah, I'd be fucking pissed and I probably would have done the same thing you did. It's just like, it's kind of heartbreaking to hear because so much of what Don't Nod does is all about handcrafting this narrative experience through the choices that you make. And you very clearly made specific choices because you wanted your playthrough to be a very certain way. And the idea that you get all the way to like the final moments of the game and that this one mechanic ruins it for you is kind of shitty.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It was unfortunate. And I mean, there's always, I could have spent the time to do it. I could have spent the time to get good, but I don't feel like I have the time or patience to do that right now.
Don't put the blame on yourself. You shouldn't be expected to know how to do the boss fight on the first try, and then they penalize you by taking away all of your resources while you're learning how to do the boss fight. I mean, that's like video games 101.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. But yeah, it's... I mean, the game is, I would definitely recommend it. You know, if I want to go through and be the butthole and kill and eat everyone, I could be super powerful and enjoy it. I mean, there are a few things, not to spend too much time on this, that, you know, this was a Don't Nod game. I feel like the character interactions that you have, they're very great and they're all very well thought out, obviously. But there's really no consequence to not interacting with them besides the fact you might just not get a side quest, which leads to experience points. At the end of the game, you don't find out what happened to these characters specifically. They never move. They don't have their own lives. They don't develop or grow in any way, shape, or form. So I would say this is like a very good, like solid, like good job on your first, you know, game like this. And I'm excited to see how they can improve going forward. Definitely.
Yeah, maybe don't use the same mechanic in a game ever again.
Yeah, just don't do that one thing, and it'll be
good.
It
just seems super mean. Like, I don't understand why.
I
like,
think
why when you're like, oh well, you know, you're a vampire, so you'll just come right back. Like, yeah, that's how video games are. Like, you just come right back. Doesn't matter if you're a vampire or if you're a woman hunting dinosaurs made out of robot materials. Like, it's just like this is how games work. We all know this. So the idea that it's just like, I'm going to take away all your stuff just because.
Yeah, I think they really want you to feed on citizens and develop these awesome skills that I'm sure they put tons of time into developing and balancing and working out.
Then why make the perfect game ending something where you don't do that?
It's it was not super easy to achieve it. And
have you seen online any other people complaining about this?
Yes, a lot of people. Because I was like, is this just me? Like, I know some games, like shooters, I'm not that great at naturally. So I'm like, okay, is this just me being bad at this combat, or did I do something wrong? And there are a lot of people, and there are, a fair amount of people who are saying like, yeah, it took some time, but I was able to do it after trying it or just get good. But then there were most of the people saying, this is a bad design choice. Why did you do this? This isn't fair, especially since, the ammo doesn't come back. There's very limited resources. And every time you die, there is a prompt that says, if you're finding yourself, basically, I'm paraphrasing, if you find yourself in a difficult battle, feed on the blood of citizens and get XP. So it definitely wants you to. And in the very beginning of the game, I'm not spoiling anything here, you learn your mesmerize skill, which is where you can lure people into probably back alleys and feed on them. I didn't do it, so I don't totally know. But the game doesn't tell you that if you do this, you're screwing up the perfect ending at all. It actually encourages you to do it. So it doesn't really tell you. Yeah, that's another minor complaint, is it doesn't really tell you how the game works as you're playing it. You don't really know the consequences of your actions until you've actually done them. And design choice, and when you're making decisions, when you're talking to people, like Life is Strange, you say one thing, it greatly impacts the story or the fate of that character. I feel like all those choices were meaningless. Like the things I said, I didn't suffer the consequences of whatever I said. Maybe you just won't unlock a hint, which is only beneficial if you. When you unlock hints, you get more XP for eating the people, is all it does. But it doesn't impact the story in any way, shape, or form. So, yeah. It was a great, I don't want to say great, it was a good game by Donut. And I'm excited to see how they can improve going forward. There are some things that just seem like they were tacked on for the sake of being tacked on and have an interesting conversation. But a Donut game, I feel like there's that expectation of consequence. And there really wasn't, except for a few people.
Well, the consequence seems to be mainly just tied to the people eating.
Yeah, that's exactly
now I'm thinking of the song of One-Eyed One-Horned Flying for Purple People Eater, but
yeah.
Yeah,
anyway.
But I find it weird that they'd basically be like, well, this perfect ending you only get if you don't do the main core mechanic of our game. And we're going to encourage you to do this main mechanic because we want you to do it. Yeah. But also, if you want a happy ending, like, don't do it. Like, that's just the part that seems a little bit off to me.
Right. No, it definitely is a little, like, head-scratcher. And I played this game more as a fan more than a critic, because I think if I played it more as a critic, I would probably, certain things would have driven me up the walls. Obviously, you're seeing some of that right now. But I would say going to this game, I would say, like, the 7s it's getting, that's about right. Maybe even a little less for certain aspects. But, there is an interesting story here, and I was very compelled. Like I said, I played this game all day on certain days, and I love doing it. And I never was like, I'm bored, I gotta take a break. It's like, I want to play more. But there are some major mechanic flaws. Anyway. Thanks, ladies. That was therapeutic. I've been bottling that up since, like, Friday.
Oh, no.
No, it's fine. It felt
Well,
good.
we're happy to be your cathartic release. On that note, why don't we all take a cathartic release in the form of a short break? When we come back, we're going to be talking about some nerdy things. Maybe some things related to Comic-Con. Maybe we're going to be taking your questions. It's going to be a cornucopia of awesome conversation. You're not going to want to miss it. Stick with us. We'll be right back. What's good, everybody? Welcome back. It is segment 3 of the What's Good Games podcast. And now, this is the point of the show and the time of the month where we give a magnificent shout out, thank you, a gracious gratitude to, I know that was a little drawn out, to our lovely Turbo patrons at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. We would not be here at What's Good Games without our fantastic Patreon community. If for some chance you are able to contribute even just $1 a month, we would appreciate that. You can find out all of our awesome tiers and everything that you get with Patreon membership, again, at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. But now we're going to read a bunch of names, so we're going to try not to screw up. Britt, are you ready?
Always and forever.
Here we go. I'm going to lead us off with a big thank you to our longtime sponsor, Mr. Alex Rogopoulos,
Lincoln Davis.
Ferris Atay,
Tom Book.
David I. Colucci,
Stephen Insler.
Martha J. Emery,
Kia Bright.
Misael Villegas,
Andrew S.
Kathy Lucas,
Molly Bittner.
Timothy Bennett,
Alberto Videla.
Steph Wu,
Regan Impson.
Bill Stillwell,
Dustin Lewis.
Tara Bruno,
Zach Hershey.
Kyle Heyman,
Amar Dillon.
Shion Stevenson.
Jessica Salisbury.
Aaron J. Saxton.
Michael Shanholtz.
Gary Welburn.
Benjamin Pardew. Oh, mate.
RJ Bryan.
He's Australia. Trevor Stunkey.
Jason Demers. I know that guy.
I know, he's pretty cool. Joe Schlief.
Maxwell Kramer.
Tom Coots.
Elmo Shell.
Jared Howard.
Tyler McCall.
Carl Peterson.
Joselle Bassa.
Muhammad.
Namich Bowie.
Jeff Hutchinson.
Jason Davis.
Oh boy. Bo Herholzer.
You did it! Gregory Horton.
E. Irizarry.
Lucas Cheney.
Robert Guerrero.
Mark Dastrup.
Jennifer McNichol.
John Drake.
I know that guy. Joe Kennison.
Emily Kent.
Trent Pennington.
Jason Erickson.
No clip.
Ariella Furman.
Adam Rapone.
Kevin Dunkel.
Billy Shibley.
Stephanie Fitzwilliams.
Sam.
Jesse Spencer.
Two Guardians, Anna Bray, and the Hive.
I don't know who you are, but I love that you put that in as your Patreon name. Tommy Larson.
Ross Haney.
Kevin Komaki.
Nikhil Humphrey.
Brooke Laree. Asia Harris.
Anthony Muffy.
Kyle Somerville.
Chandler.
From Friends? Adrian
Yeah.
Williams.
Pure Blue Octopus. That's my octopus sound.
Pete Shoemaker.
Sydney Carr.
Gio Corsi.
Roland Balla.
Paige Porter.
Marcus Brown.
Mikey Phillips.
Materia Addict.
Jay Mahui.
Matthew Gorer.
Martin T. Asarud.
Leviathan Masters Barella.
You guys have some pretty kick-ass names. Shane Rayum.
Seriously.
Matt Howell.
Ozzy Mejia.
Christian Rodriguez.
Tim Ross.
Creech.
E. Jenkins. Checked us?
Dale
E.
Sun.
checked us.
Second. Yeah. Dale Sun.
Donato Sanicio III.
Tony Han.
Maddie Whitman.
Teresa Inner, the best person ever. She birthed us, Andrea Renee.
It's true, she did.
She did.
She birthed
That's
me.
true.
It's
She
my
birthed
mom. Thank you to all of our fantastic Turbo patrons. We love you guys. You're great. This is a very fun moment for us each month, getting to recount how many names have been with us since day one and how many new names we get to read each month. People who have just found What's Good Games and who are choosing to support everything that we do here. Again, you know, a lot of people that I know that have Patreons, I see putting out messages saying, I don't say it enough and I don't promote it enough, like how much we need your support. And I can't stress the echoing that sentiment that we could not do What's Good Games without you guys, and having you guys as part of our amazing Patreon community means so much to us, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We love you. Heart emojis. And on that note, we are going to start the third segment. So because it's Comic-Con week and I'm at Comic-Con doing a bunch of panels and shit, which we already talked about, we thought it would be fun to maybe talk about some nerdy stuff that we love, some Comic-Con memories, some of our favorite comic book movies, and kind of make it a discussion about why we love being nerds and part of nerd culture kind of in general, and kind of keeping it loose and having a good time and seeing where the conversation goes. We had somebody write into Dear WGG, one of our Patreon tiers, Brandon Gahn. He says, hello, what's good? I'm sure you'll cover this naturally at some point, but I was just curious if there's anything gaming related you're looking forward to at Comic-Con, aside from professional responsibilities, of course. Thanks for taking my questions if you do, and have a wonderful day. So this is a great question. It's been interesting watching Comic-Con coverage change over the years. When I first started covering Comic-Con, I think my first Comic-Con was 2011. Almost all of the coverage I did back then was purely TV and movie related, and if it had like a video game tie-in. It wasn't just video game specific. And it's been really fun kind of seeing how comic books in general are really merging with video games as a medium. We're seeing lots of franchises that existed first in the video game realm expanding their lore into not only comic books but into TV and movie as well. Like a prime example, of course, was the first Comic-Con panel I ever hosted, Assassin's Creed, and how that universe has really just exploded over the last 5 years, and all of the supplementary lore that you can now find that's being produced by a variety of content creators, not just the original writing team, right? There's so many hands that are in that world, which I think is really exciting. And we're seeing a lot of other properties that are doing cool stuff there as well. Like the idea that Adult Swim is going to be there doing a pool panic tournament, it's like,
So cool.
that's wild, you know, this thing that's going to be at Comic-Con. And it's been really cool. Like one of my favorite memories of stuff that I've done at Comic-Con was actually this Assassin's Creed obstacle course that they set up like American Ninja Warrior. And they actually got
I remember that.
Yeah, right. And they got Casey, one of the amazing female stars from American Ninja Warrior, to come and like run the thing. And I was just like, please don't make me run when she's running, because I'll embarrass myself. But it was really fun. They're doing so many weird activations and crazy wild things this year. Like one of the things that I got a press release for was about Deadpool 2. So they're putting out a new director's cut. They have a special name for it. Let me look it up, the press release, so I don't screw this up. And they're doing an activation at the Hard Rock Hotel where they are taking over a suite and designing it so it looks like Deadpool's apartment in the movie. And one lucky fan is going to get the opportunity to spend the night in the suite on Saturday. And which I thought was like a really cool activation for them to do. So they have a panel in Hall H, of course, on Saturday at 5:15, where stars from the movie will be there, including Ryan Reynolds. And they're going to talk about some of the new things that they're going to be. Let me read from the press release that I got. It says, Deadpool drops the ultimate deuce in the grass lamp. Now with more splash, the Horton Grand Theater plays host to the world premiere screening of Deadpool 2 Super Duper Cut. And then it's got a bunch of like symbols, which is clearly like meant to represent some kind of expletive in the title, featuring 15 minutes of never before seen footage, including deleted scenes, alternate jokes, and extended takes. Tickets to the screening are available for Saturday and weekend-long Comic-Con badge holders only. Head to the sales pavilion at 9 a.m. on Saturday for your chance to get your hands on. And a certain time-traveling psychopath lets slip that there may be a few special guests in attendance. And then there's a super-duper Deadpool dance party, which is kind of crazy. And then the Dream Suite, which is what I was talking about. So this is being put on by Voodoo Movies and TV, who have partnered with 20th Century Fox Home Entertainment to host the sweepstakes to stay in the Dream Suite, which has half-finished IKEA furniture and pop culture Easter eggs that more than you could shake a katana at, not to mention all of the non-adult movies the winner could ever watch, courtesy of Voodoo. So like, that's what I love about Comic-Con, is that there's these wild things that people can go do. And what's been great over the last couple of years is that more and more of them don't require you to have a Comic-Con badge, because there's 250,000 people that hit the streets of San Diego for Comic-Con, and there's only so many badges. And I think it's really great when movie companies or game companies will put out these really cool experiences for people who are like, hey, I didn't get lucky. I don't want to pay a scalped price for a badge. You know, can I still partake? And there's a lot of cool stuff like that. Do either of you have like a favorite game or a favorite thing that you've seen at Comic-Con? You guys did a really cool project there once, right?
We did, yeah. So I've been to one Comic-Con, and that was when Steimer and I were recording a pilot for a thing that never took off the ground, like most things in Hollywood and Los Angeles and television, or however the hell, whatever. And it was Steimer, myself, and Rachel Moore, who is known for cosplay, and she has a YouTube channel. And we were shooting a pilot for a show about us in the video game industry and what we do in it and whatnot. And so part of that was we got to do some of the fun stuff at Comic-Con. So we did the Black Ops 3 escape room, and I think that was in 2015.
That was super fun, yeah.
Yeah,
the zombies escape room?
Yeah, that was awesome, and that was my very first escape room. And that turned me on to escape rooms, and now I just love them so freaking much. We should totally do one as a, quote, team building effort, quote, when we're all in the same city again. So we got to do that, which is really, really cool. We got to do... was it Square Enix?
It was like a zipline thing. What was the zipline for?
That could have been a Tomb Raider thing. I think it was a Square Enix. It wasn't, no? Okay.
Wasn't it for Just Cause?
Just Cause. Maybe
Just Cause 3, right?
Yeah, because you got to go down the zip line while holding a gun or a rifle. Yeah, and like shooting stuff or pretending to. And
that was fun.
what was so cool about that was I had never done anything like that before in terms of shooting a pilot and being with like a TV production crew. You know, we had to do the interviews and they had us all mic'd up, and I was like, oh, this is so weird and new to me. And that was super memorable. And I still have that sizzle reel somewhere, but maybe I can find it and I can post it.
I want to see it.
It was also really fun. Like, we did fun video game things, but I think one of the most fun was we shot a segment where it was just me and you in the hotel room, and you were forcing me to play Outlast, I think it was. And that was a lot of fun.
That sounds like a Brittany thing to do.
Fun. Yeah, that was really fun. So that was a really fun memory. And I think, Steimer, you were with me when I bought my Harvest Moon chicken.
I was.
And I saw that, and it was love at first sight, and that was a
I
really
have
bad
it
idea.
in a vlog somewhere.
Yeah, it was a bad idea because it didn't fit in my suitcase, so I had to carry that thing on the airplane with me, and I got a lot of weird looks, but that's fine.
I mean, isn't that just like your life in general?
Basically, yeah, actually it is. Get weird looks from people on the airplane.
They're like, why is that woman drank so many Maker's Mark? She looks like she's had too much.
Too much, and she has a weird chicken in her lap. It's fine. All is fine. But I would like to go back to another San Diego Comic-Con. It always seems, it's never been a con that I prioritize, mostly because it's just, PAX is around the corner in the summer. We tend to do a lot of travel. But I would like to go back and plan on going back for these little fun out of the convention events that we've been talking about. Because they're so fun. There's so many fun random things to do.
Yeah. I think that Comic-Con with you is probably one of the highlights. I've been to several. But I think the one I also really enjoyed almost equally as much was one where I did almost nothing. So, like, I literally I did nothing to do during the days. So I got to just hang out at the hotel, pool, whatever, sleep in. And then in the evenings, I had a bunch of parties to go to. So I literally just went to parties all weekend. And that was the best.
It's like vacation. Yeah, it's interesting. I've had such a random Comic-Con experience over the years, having gone with a variety of companies and done really cool things like working for Xbox and doing the red carpet with the Game of Thrones cast and being able to host all these TV panels. But then I've also done like what Steimer did and had like one panel that I did, and like the rest of the time I was like, well, I guess I'm here now and I'm just gonna like walk the show floor, because you can only walk the floor so many times, because at certain times of the day it's just like the crush of people, it becomes super overwhelming that you just even don't want to be on the floor anymore. And also like everything's so expensive and all the cool stuff gets sold out on preview night anyway, and so it's like, how much extra space in my luggage do I have to like buy stuff, and going to the events is really fun, but I just like kind of love walking around in the gas lamp of San Diego, just kind of like looking at the amazing cosplay. I know I've never been to Dragon Con, which is kind of like the gold standard for cosplay, but the cosplay at San Diego Comic-Con is super next level. I've just seen so many amazing creations that the year that I did a cosplay piece, I bought a Flash costume, like just like a Halloween costume. And I knew full well that I was like, listen, I'm not cosplaying. I'm just dressing up because I'm doing this cosplay piece and I'm going to talk to actual cosplayers, people who built their costumes from scratch. But that year, I only ever went inside the lobby. I never actually went inside the convention center. I did all of the pieces that I shot on for channels, just like outside the convention center. It's kind of wild in that sense that you can really experience so much of what Comic-Con has to offer without actually ever going inside the convention center. That being said, the dedication of people to go to some of the Hall H panels is wild. I still am a little surprised that the people who run Comic-Con haven't instituted a digital ticketing system, much like Blizzard does with BlizzCon, to say, hey, like, we want people who are here to feel like they're getting an exclusive experience. But there's a finite amount of tickets that we can sell to this. How about, instead of just locking it to these people, which ultimately these trailers leak anyway, like, who cares? Like, let people just put this stuff up right away, but let them have to pay like a digital access fee. I really wish that they would adopt that system to be like, do you want to see this Deadpool 2 panel from Hall H, but you can't be in San Diego because maybe you live in Japan or wherever. Like, buy a digital entrance fee in order to be able to watch it online. I don't know why they don't do that, and more of a why some of these studios don't release their trailers that are their Hall H trailers just on the spot. Like Hall H gets to see it first, and then immediately after the panel, it's like live online for everybody to see. It's just like certain things like that about Comic-Con I've always like kind of had an issue with, particularly because when I was working at The Escapist doing game coverage, I had one of my best Comic-Cons ever because we went to the Mass Effect 3 panel after being told there was not going to be any new reveals. They're just talking about the story and the world building. And then they showed a brand new piece of animation of the Mako from Mass Effect 3 that had never been shown before. And thankfully, I had my cell phone there. We would have brought a whole camera kit with a tripod and everything if they had told us they were going to do this. And so I'm like videoing this video from my cell phone being like, oh my gosh, they've never shown this before. And it was like one of the most clicked and watched pieces from Comic-Con I've ever done because I was the only journalist who filmed it. It was just like, because they didn't tell me I couldn't, so I did.
Mako.
But what was crazy about that year for me is that I was sharing a room with a girl who was covering the Hall H panels, and she had to stay outside overnight, like slept on the ground in the Hall H line so that she could get a spot inside Hall H to do press coverage because they don't hold spots for press in Hall H. So she literally came and got like the pillows and a blanket from her bed in the hotel room and brought them outside with her. And she's like, well, I'll see you tomorrow. And I was like, dude, you are a trooper. I would never. Like if my boss had been like, you got to get this panel, I would have been like, nah, dog, you got to pay me like overtime bonus for sleeping on the ground. I mean, I would do it for the right price, but like, yo,
that price ain't free.
No, definitely not. And like, that's the hard part about working in the entertainment business is that so many people want to do it. A lot of people take paychecks that are far below their skill set or far below what they should be demanding. And it was just like, the hustler in me appreciated the hustle in this girl and like that she was willing to do whatever it took to get the job done. But that being said, she should have been compensated for her time. This wasn't like a startup. This was The Escapist. They had money.
Her time and her back pain.
Yeah,
Hot damn.
exactly. But
right. I need a chiropractor appointment after this. Thank you.
That's crazy. I've heard the stories of Hall H, but people camp out like for how long to get into these panels?
Well, it depends what year it is and which panels there are. Like back in the Twilight days, like some of these girls would line up days in advance. They would have these tented areas because the lines would be so massive so early. And they have like a really strict system now of like wristbands. It's like you have to like show up to get a wristband to get into another line, which gives you like another wristband. And then that wristband gets you into a specific line at a specific time. And then they like escort you from one line to another line. It's like Comic-Con, like half of Comic-Con, if you want to go to panels, is just waiting in these crazy lines. And I'm like, it's 2018. How are we not in a system where we can just digital ticket everybody? Mm-hmm. You show up, you get a barcode. This is your barcode. It has your seat. You have an assigned seat inside the hall, and that's it. Like, I don't understand like why that's a problem. And then if you don't show up for your seat, there's like a waiting line of people who are on standby who are like, if you really want to wait for a standby, you can stand in the standby line. And then anybody who doesn't show up for their ticketed seat will fill those seats piecemeal with whoever's in the standby line, and that's it. Like that to me seems like the way to do it, because people spend so much money flying to San Diego, paying for these crazy expensive hotels, buying meals that are way overpriced, standing in line. Like the least you can do is give them a digital ticket to a fucking panel, right?
But I would argue you don't want to do that. Well, for multiple reasons. One being, can you imagine how crazy Comic-Con would be if there wasn't half of the audience just waiting in a fucking line somewhere? Like, if they were then out and actually partaking in the things. It's crowd control. It's like, most people want to go to this thing. All right, let them wait for 48 hours. I'm sure it's fine.
Jeez,
but yeah, no, I agree. Like, it seems it's antiquated at this point, and they should update it. I think they probably. And then there's this is what I hate. I hate when people are like, but people love standing in lines. They love like the exclusivity of it or whatever. And you're like, okay, no one loves waiting in line.
Nobody loves waiting in line. Like literally zero
Not
people.
in the heat in the middle of summer in San Diego.
No.
Danger
Thankfully,
zone.
the heat wave has broken, and it will only be like I think the top temperature I saw in the forecast was like 82, which is not bad for San Diego in peak summer. But I'm with you, Steimer. I see what you're saying, but
That's funny. So you put in a
we
little,
need
like,
to
rat
manage
race.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to make all of these people run around like over there, away from everything else.
yeah, it's been interesting watching also, like, you know, talking about like things to do and properties there, how Comic-Con has evolved from not just like comic book lovers to just kind of like fans of TV, movies, and games in general. Like I think about a series like Westworld, for example, and how they had like a giant Comic-Con activation last year where they like brought people out to like this like mini Westworld. And it's like, well, that started out as a movie and then was adapted into a TV series, but it was never a comic book, you know? And
No,
there's-
it's much more entertainment than it is comics at this point.
right. And there's like so many other TV shows and things like that that really like don't have a basis in comics whatsoever, but they're still like heavily featured at Comic-Con.
like-
And
Whether or not they think they have a nerd base, really.
yeah, no, exactly. And like, there's always been like kind of an interesting debate with people that I know that go to Comic-Con that are like Comic-Con purists that are like, oh, you guys are all like fake nerds and you don't really like comic books and
Oh,
you never even read the Walking Dead comic or whatever their argument is. And I kind of like see the point of like, they're like, hey, this was meant for us and meant as a celebration of all things like the art and the narrative and like the medium of comic books. And now it's turned into this like giant commercial monster. But at the same time, I'm like, doesn't it make it a little bit more exciting? I don't know. Do either of you fall on a specific side?
Let people enjoy things. Calm down.
Well, I mean, I think change is inevitable in life. Like, it's going to happen. Things will evolve. Nothing will ever stay the same. It's just not how it works. So I get it being like, oh man, this used to be like just for us, and now it's for everyone, and like that makes me sad. But at the same time, the world will not stand still for you.
What's that saying about when I'm going to butcher this and I apologize, but all the ships rising about water
A rising
levels?
tide lifts all boats.
Yeah. Your convention that's made just for you wouldn't be as big and amazing as it is if, you know, not everything was brought into it like it is now. It's okay. It's
Yeah,
all
but maybe
good,
they
man.
don't want that. I'm assuming they don't like all the people.
Then they can start their own convention. Sorry.
Yeah, they might need to have like another actual Comic-Con.
I know.
Where it's
No,
like, sorry, comic book traders, here's the real thing for you.
I understand like having concerns about that, but if it's when or if they throw in the you're fake nerd, it's come on, stop it. It's gonna be
Yeah.
fine.
No, thank you, sir.
Just let people
Format
enjoy things, and if this isn't destroying your life, then it's fine. It's just comics. It's just video games. There's a lot of other stuff going on in the world. It's gonna be fine. I promise you. I'm here for you.
Bless you.
I think Resident Evil 2 is going to have a demo at Comic-Con.
Ooh,
and
really?
if
Maybe
any-
I should go play it.
Yeah, I would say if anyone is going, particularly someone with beautiful red shiny hair, that would be interested in playing, they should totally play and report back to me. I don't know anyone like that. It's just,
I
I came across
wonder.
wrong.
I know somebody at Capcom I can email about this.
Simon picked up the bad. I did not mean that it sounded as bad as it did. I don't think Andrea picked it on. It was very fine.
No,
Andrea-
I don't think she did
Yeah, it's
either.
good. I didn't mean it that way, obviously.
I know what you meant, but I was like, ooh, maybe rephrase.
Oh, it says there's surprises. So hold on. There's this article.
She's in her other world. You're fine.
It's true. Like I'm sorry, Britt. I was looking up.
No, you didn't want to. It's fine. It was a miscommunication.
I was trying to be like, if anyone knows anyone with beautiful red hair, I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know.
She was trying to be cute. It just came out slightly off.
It's fine. Anyway, yes, please go play Resident Evil 2 and let me know what you think about it. That's all I ask.
Okay.
Do it.
According to the SDCC programming schedule, Resident Evil 2 is going to be featured on Friday, promising an
Ooh.
appearance from the game's producers and a discussion on how Capcom is bringing back the game 20 years after its initial release. It says, quote, few other surprises.
Okay.
So if nothing else, I have to go and see if they are giving away some kind of Resident Evil swag so I can bring it home for you.
Oh yeah, she would lose her shit.
I would. I'm just so excited. Oh my god. That's what I'm most excited about. To answer your question, your original question, sir, what was your name? Brandon. That's what I'm most excited about. Resident Evil 2 shit.
Yeah, because I'm not on the press list for Comic-Con, I haven't gotten any invites to any of the video game demos. Because I'm a speaker at Comic-Con this year, so I have a different type of badge. I'm not on like the same list that all of the people who normally invite us to things for at like PAX or E3, for example. They're like, hey, you're coming. I see you're on the list. Why don't you come check out our thing? No one's emailed me. So I'm like, I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff happening that once I get there, people will be like, did you see this? And I'll be like, no, I totally didn't, but I'm going to go find it. So fun story. That happened at one of my Comic-Cons. Another one of my really amazing Comic-Con pieces was I'm gonna look it up now so I can see exactly what it was. I was at Comic-Con, and this was back when before Kind of Funny existed, when all of those guys were still at IGN. And I remember running into Greg at a party somewhere. Maybe it was IGN's party. And we did the thing that most of us do at events. We're like, oh, so how's your Comic-Con going? What have you seen? Or how's your E3 going? What have you played? What do you like? You know, these very like small talky questions to like open conversation. And he was like, oh, well, we just came from checking out Spider-Man. And I was like, what do you mean? I didn't think they were showing Spider-Man. Now this was, I believe, Activision's Beanox Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Gotta look up the exact name. I'm just Googling Activision Spider-Man San Diego Comic-Con.
Transition music. I got you, girl.
Oh, you don't need to quite go into transition music. But it was one of those events where I was like, oh, I never got an invite to go check it out. I didn't even know they were showing it here. And so I like tracked down maybe this is that Spider-Man Edge of Time. And I like tracked down who was going to be showing this game. And I was like, okay, I need to come and see this game, like if you're, whatever you're demoing. And we went and we did a gameplay capture. We did a full interview. And it was one of my highest viewed pieces I did, or maybe it was the highest viewed piece I did for Comic-Con. And it was just a package that I picked up when I was there because I overheard somebody be like, they're showing the game. And then I was like, I must chase this game down. And what that taught me in that moment was two things. One, be willing to go with the flow and always hustle for the right piece. Two, man, people love the shit out of Spider-Man. Like, they will watch literally anything Spider-Man. It could be crap Spider-Man. It could be great Spider-Man. It could be, like, the worst Spider-Man game that's ever been made. People don't care. There is a hungry, rabid fan base of people out there that if you just put the Spider-Man word in the tags, they will come a-flocking.
Maybe
is that
we
a word,
should change our podcast title to
What's Good Spider-Man?
Good Spider-Man.
What's Good Game Spider-Man? What's
Good Spider-Man?
A Spider-Man podcast.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I have some crazy videos. If you were to go to YouTube, as I'm about to do right now, and I'm gonna just do a quick quote search here, Andrea Renee and Comic-Con, and see like how much bullshit comes up. Oh my god, you guys, so many videos. I'm old, is what I'm finding out here.
No, you're experienced.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does that help?
What's crazy is the bunch of these videos are from Clever Games, but it's on GT Reviews because that channel got renamed like 3 different times, I think. Yeah. It's a wild world, ladies and gentlemen, covering Comic-Con. It's fun, though. Oh my gosh, Splinter Cell Blacklist gameplay preview, SDCC 2013. Hey, you guys remember when Splinter Cell was a game?
I liked Splinter Cell.
Rip and
I thought that was very fun.
We all thought it would show up at Ubisoft, and not all of us thought, but there was a heavy rumor. Ubisoft's press conference didn't show up. Rip in peace. I would like to do more SIDS, San Diego Comic-Cons. It sounds like a good time. It sounds, for me, probably like play a few game appointments, maybe attend a few panels that aren't in Hall H apparently, and make some fun memories and chill out. Sounds like a good time.
I don't know that I've ever gone to a panel at Comic-Con because I just didn't want to deal with any of the bullshit.
Yeah, kind of where I'm at.
That makes sense.
I mean, I went to some of the ones that Greg hosted because I could get in through the back.
Yeah.
And just get in there. But Otherwise, hell no.
Yeah, it's tricky because that's what she said, because I'm getting a lot of San Diego Comic-Con emails, and I'm like, I want to do the thing, but I'm not going. Like, there's a Dragon Ball preview event thing going on tomorrow, and I'm like, dang it, I'm not in San Diego.
Well, Britt, you should have let me know. We could have maybe like made plans next year. How about this? How about next year? It'll be on our wish list to do a What's Good Games meetup at San Diego Comic-Con.
Perfect.
Oh God.
Oh, two
What?
very
No, I'm just
different.
like, let's
What? Come on, Steimer.
For me,
We'll
I'm
make
like,
it on
can it just be
Saturday.
away from the crowds of the.
Oh yeah. No, we'll find
Yeah.
we'll
Okay.
find some nice air-conditioned bar. You know, a few
Perfect.
blocks off the convention center, maybe on the water. And or maybe, you know, maybe we'll be balling out of control next year. We'll be able to like rent a boat. That's like a popular thing at Comic-Con. A lot of events are held on yachts and boats and stuff because it's right on the marina there.
We'll paint it purple.
I
Let's have
think
a
if we're gonna
houseboat.
aim big, let's aim pie in the sky. Next year we're gonna have a What's Good Games booze cruise.
Oh yeah.
How fun would that
Super
be?
pie in the sky, but I do like this idea.
I like pie, and I like pies in the sky, and I like booze cruises. So this sounds
We
like
will
a
have
win-win-win.
pies on this boat. If we get this boat thing to be real, which there will be pies.
Aim for the
There will
stars,
be
baby
pies.
girl. Okay.
Who do we know
Here
that's making a video game with boats? Can we convince them to pay for the party? I'll do some
The
research.
crew.
Rare.
Hmm.
Hey, rare.
Ooh, a pirate ship cruise would be super fun.
Wouldn't it? There is a pirate ship that exists because there's been many companies that rent out that pirate ship every year at San Diego Comic-Con. I went to one of these parties when Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag recreated the Jackdaw, which is, you know, Edward's ship in the game, at San Diego Comic-Con. I did a whole tour of it, and then they threw a party at there later, and Henry Cavill was there.
Oh, what?
And I lost my phone. And then I found my phone. But there was a
Were they
brief moment
related?
where I lost my phone on that pirate ship, and I was like, it's in the
Did
water.
Henry Cavill
I'm done.
temporarily steal your phone?
No, he didn't. He was just there dancing.
Damn.
He was just having a good
Oh.
time. That's the thing about Comic-Con. It's weird. There's just celebrities walking around everywhere. Just chilling.
Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Booze cruise next San Diego Comic-Con. What's Good Games? We'll have pies in the sky. We'll literally like suspend pies in the sky, and then we're gonna hoist you up. And
It'll be like
and you'll
yeah,
eat
like
it.
when like an apple eating contest, but reversed because they're hanging from the ceiling.
We'll hang you
Yeah,
from the
like-
ceiling and feed you
Yeah.
pies.
this,
yeah.
I love this
You're not
idea.
hanging
I
from the
love
ceiling,
where
the
this is
pie's
going.
hanging from the ceiling. And you gotta like reach up and bite it.
We got to workshop it a little bit because gravity would probably pull the pie from the thing. So
Hey,
maybe
if pinatas can hang, so can pies.
The most perfect logic I have ever heard in my goddamn life. Thank you, Christine.
What if we do hand pies? You know, like McDonald's
Yeah,
has like the little
we can do
hand
little
pies.
pies.
What if we did that?
In the sky?
Yeah, in the sky.
The filling is what will get us. Once you bite open that bad boy, all that filling's coming out.
Bite-sized pies in the sky.
I love it.
Oh my god.
Ship it.
I can fly twice as high.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I think we have definitely gone off the rails here, so we should probably wrap this
There are
wrap
no
this up.
rails.
So thank you, ladies and gentlemen,
The
for
rails do
tuning
not exist.
for tuning into the show this week. Once again, if you're listening to this and you're at San Diego, or if you're interested, I believe some of these panels that I'm doing are streaming. Check out my Twitter for all of the details and any links. That's at Andrea Renee, and of course at What's Good _games. We'll be retweeting any links that I put out. If you're listening to this, I've got the Lego DC Supervillains panel at 2:15 on Friday, and the defining. I can't remember the word is the Lara Croft Shadow of the Tomb Raider panel at 12:30 p.m. on Saturday, and then the Kind of Funny meet and greet. You can come out and say hi at Skybound on Saturday as well. This has been awesome, ladies. As always, lovely to see you. Next week is another week that we're shooting off normal schedule. So for all of our pre-show patrons, keep a lookout. I believe we're going to be sending you emails about when you can look for the live show. And yeah, am I missing anything, Britt?
No, we already talked about our happy hour stream Monday at 6:30
Oh,
p.m.
yeah.
PT. Be posting that on Monday. So every Monday, folks and friends, that came out as one word, and I don't know, it's a weird day. Every Monday, I post updates to our Patreon page. So if you want to know what's good and exciting for whatever week, just head there, and I'll post a thing. And I'll give you all of the updates. So yeah, so I've covered my bases in those posts because right now I'm not thinking. All I'm thinking about is bite-sized pies in the sky.
Bite-sized pies in the sky.
That sounds really good right now,
Oh
man.
man, that sounds real good.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're all gonna go get pies. You should go get one too. Don't forget to check out teespring.com/store/what'sgoodgames if you want to check out any of our merch. And we love you. Have a fantastic weekend, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.